Hello, and welcome back to the JRB podcast with myself, Ryan Levine, joined here by Jeff Jones and Bohdan Temnick.
Hello.
Yo.
So today we're going to talk about Phantom Nightmare, the second wave of reveals, I guess we'll call them, for the Rarity Collection, and the Battles of Legend. We just got all of the reveals, not reveals, the set list for the Battles of Legend Chapter 1 collection. I think that's what it's called. And then a couple other odds and ends thrown in there. But first, I'm going to announce the winners of the giveaway on the Trigun and Cowboy Bebop video from a couple weeks ago. This has just happened to be the first podcast since that time went up. So the winners are Undying Hunter and Brianna Cat. So I will reply to those messages on that video when this goes up, and then I'm gonna probably have you guys message me on Twitter or something. We will figure out how to get your information so I can send you out your mats. But Undying Hunter's favorite card was the Wolfgang character card, so he will be getting the Trigun mat, and Brianna Cat's favorite card was the Fae character card, so he will be getting the Cowboy Bebop mat. It worked out nicely that one of you liked a Trigun card, one of you liked a Cowboy Bebop card. So I was hoping that would happen, but I did not change anything. It just happened to be that way, which was worked out nicely. But yeah, so I guess let's just dive into Phantom Nightmare. I think we talked a little bit about just like the cards that everybody knew was going to be good, like Poplar and Princess, and like I don't think we're breaking any new ground to say Poplar and Princess are strong. I don't think we need to waste time on that. I'm sure everybody watching this knows that to some degree. The cards we have not talked about at all are the Ashen cards. And I don't know if I unfortunately my knee-jerk reaction is yet again for like the 19th time in a row. Wow, this deck looks promising. I sure hope the second wave of support gives us a playable card to put in the deck.
Yeah.
And then it inevitably won't. And then it'll look like a deck that just doesn't quite have enough cards to be a deck. Like the last, like that's how I always felt about Bee Troopers, and they kind of like devolved into just being a DPE Anaconda deck. And then the second wave of support came out and like they didn't do anything. And that's how I felt about like Libra Managers were also like that, right? Where like the second wave of support, like you just couldn't. And Vendra's got like 5 waves of support. Like you just so many of these decks. I feel like since Code of the Duelist, I feel like almost every TCG exclusive deck we've said, wow, these cards look promising, but we don't quite have enough to make a 40 card deck yet. And then the new waves of support don't quite get there. Because the second wave of support is always just worse, like by a considerable margin. But I don't know. Do you think? I know, like, what's it? Vados. That card is like actually one of the more expensive cards in the set right now. It's like the second most expensive secret rare, I'm pretty sure, which kind of shocked me. But I don't know if either of you have like strong opinions about this deck being good or this deck being bad, or like what it needs to be good or bad moving forward.
Yeah, I mean it's just I have a real hard time looking at a deck that does not use the extra deck and thinking this deck is good unless they have some crazy stipulations on them, which this does not. So like example would be like Flunder. This deck can't use the extra deck, but at a cost of, or not a cost, but is at a benefit of, you have infinite cards forever, right? And this is not that kind of deck. Like its gimmick is, for some reason they loved making these things where they even said that if you summon all of the Ashen monsters, it's exactly 8,000 damage, and they did that with War Rock, where the
Okay,
mechanic
well, I
was
mean,
summoning
Warrock was a
guys and
whole.
attacking. and
That
What
like
was
was the other stuff? I remember the dragon rulers had, like, random numbers that lined up, and it's been too long for me to remember exactly what they were meant to be.
oh, I don't know, but, like, it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
what you could like, there's like, "Hey, you can summon all of these guys and attack your opponent per game," and, like, cool, that would've
Mm,
been nice, I don't even know, 10 years ago or something, but that's not the case now.
yeah. Now it feels like every deck trips and
I
falls into 13,000 damage somehow.
yeah, yes, I'm
Like,
literally dealing 20,000 damage with my Fire King deck right now,
yeah,
like,
like,
but
yeah,
that's funny. It's a funny way to look at, like, new decks when they come out, and it's something that I think we do maybe, not super directly. Like, I'm never comparing it to something like Flunder, but I am looking at it and I'm like, "Why would I play this instead of X, Y, and Z deck?" And it's like, no, like, you should probably, like, set a bar and just be like, if this new deck coming out is worse than a deck that is already just very marginal in terms of playability, then why are we printing this? Like, is this just a waiting room for more support that'll end up
mhm.
being broken and then we have to ban this deck as is tradition? Who knows?
And so
But
something I wanna touch on about like this wave of support is right now the kind of pattern is each set for two sets gives a world premiere archetype 7 cards, so 14 cards total. Something we saw with this is that we got a lot more in general world premiere cards. They aren't very like strong cards, but we got a crap ton more. And I think what should have been done is that instead of getting some of these random crap cards, they should have just been giving us more of these Ashen cards,
mm,
and it, instead of maybe we get 20 Ashen cards, 10 in each set, and then that's you have way more of a chance that your deck actually functions when you can just print more cards for it, especially if you're just going to spend your time making these things that are just going into bulk, and
do you think it's better to have more cards like the Vados, where it's like this card is generic enough, and it does something unique in terms of it being a hand trap and focusing on a specific thing compared to other hand traps that maybe are a little bit more narrow. But like we saw the price point of that card maintain even after release because people are speculating, hey, like this might just be generically playable. Do
yeah, I
you
mean,
think that's better in the long term, right? Like if you're doing stuff like this, like it's better to make something that has some relevance in the archetype, and then also is generic enough that it can maybe just be splashable, right? Like you don't want that to be the whole selling point for a card like that, but maybe each wave of support can just have these sort of like generic enough cards. Maybe so I sort of look at like the kaijus, right? Like that's sort of where I want to be at with these TCG archetypes. Like the kaiju deck itself, unplayable. The kaiju cards like have just existed, since 2016, end of 2015, and they've just,
yeah, like you could even
come
play
in
them
and out.
in the Zodiac deck, and it was like a
Mm,
OTK with the Zodiac deck. Yeah.
mm,
So yeah, I understand what you mean, and that would obviously be beneficial, but you obviously have to be careful when
mm,
you let things be a little too generic, as we've seen with some of these fire cards we've gotten recently. So,
mm.
um, but yeah, I think it definitely just could have like just not you printed like three of these other TCG exclusives, just made three more Ashen cards, and then called it a day. Not only would that be better for the archetype, it would have made the set better as well, which is another thing of that set is very, very bad. um,
Yeah, this set is way more interesting to me looking at the price trends for cards, and I think we sort of went over that over the last few episodes, just talking about, hey, like this rarity distribution might not be it. Like value has to be held somewhere, and the big one that like we would talk about just in our group chats is like, okay, when a card's like Divine are gonna get bought out, like when are these cards sort of just gonna hit their peak when everything else is so expensive, like people are gonna go to the alternative decks. And then what we've seen is the cards like low hit ridiculous prices in the last couple of days. How much is it now? I think it's like 90 US, and like that's eating a good chunk of value from like a box. But then we've seen Poplar and Promethean Princess, like the two cards that people speculated would carry the entire set, just go down and down and down.
yeah,
So
so it's also weird because like the set is like r- pretty freaking bad. You more than likely do not want to have to open this if you don't have to. However, the boxes are selling for $80.
Well,
It,
we're seeing the U-Bell cards go up. That's something that's picking up as like
mhm.
a rogue strategy, and I think some people are maybe gonna put their eggs in you know, in one basket. Just try and, you know, look for something that might be good in the future. Look for something that could be reasonable after like a ban list or something.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
you
when
know,
you're opening this set and hoping for ultra rares
mm,
99% of the time, and I think that's like poor business practice. Like when I'm sad to see a secret rare pulled out of my pack instead of like one of these 3 or 4 ultra rares, like
yes. Where is my misprint box with 8 ultra rares
Yeah.
and
yeah,
no
like
secrets?
The Ubel Fusion is like $10. Voiceless Saphira is like $10.
Mm,
Um,
I don't think I felt
so
this way about a set since like Circuit Break when like Double Helix was in that set, right? And I was like, well, I need
mhm.
Double Helix. This is the like Spiral's the
mm.
only playable deck. And then I would open, you know, a box.
Yeah, it's
I
like what
this
other card can you
Right.
get
the
evenly
second box
open?
I opened of Circuit Break literally was a misprint box that had 6 ultra rares in it and didn't have a
Mm.
double helix, and I was like, what's going on? Like I even high rolled immensely and didn't
Yeah,
didn't get it, and
you
I was like,
you
what's
actually like
happening?
bring up a randomly good point of so what I'm thinking
I always
about
bring up good
go
points.
back to yeah I know yeah Duelist Nexus, how that set was like there are good cards in that, but that set was $45. I don't know
Yeah.
how much it is now, but
Yeah, I'll
the
check.
thing is that you did not have if you wanted to be competitive, you did not 100% need the cards out of that set. Whereas if
Yeah,
you
that is
want
true.
Whereas this now, if you want to play the best deck, you need 2 of the cards in this set at 100%. Where with Duelist Nexus, you could have just passed on that set.
Yeah,
So maybe that's
that is very
why
true.
Or
That
the
is
boxes are
true.
like $80
Alternatively, you
still,
knew
and people are
Unchained
buying
was
them.
the best deck, and your Duelist Nexus was you trying to pull an Ultra Rare. Back to the thing we've been talking about the entire time.
or
Just
you knew
hey,
that Rescue Ace was
yeah,
getting more support in the following set and you needed the commons, right? You needed
that yeah.
common
Well,
emergency
you
and
needed the
common
comments for your
preventer.
Unchained deck as well. To be fair, but
Yeah.
neither
Yeah.
here nor there.
And then like speaking of like I guess that set, like I know we have unfortunately we have rinsed this set for the last like 10 episodes. I feel like the last every time the set comes up we're just like, wow, this set was awful, which is like whatever. I think it's crazy. I feel like one of the biggest flops of probably maybe one of the biggest flops of a card I can remember ever playing Yu-Gi-Oh, in my opinion, is Revolution Synchron.
I was about to say, is it Revolution
I
Synchron? Yeah.
Mhm.
cannot believe how hyped that card was. And like in people's defense, this card is strong. Like the first time, you know, this got revealed and we saw it and we're like, "Oh, this card is sick. Like this card is so
Yeah.
cool. This card does so much." And then I think maybe somewhat unfortunately the hype of a card, like I also still think this is like one of the most fun cards that have come out in a while. Like this card is just really cool. But then once we got down to it and people started building decks with it, that really cool like awesome things didn't translate into like winning. Right, just
Yeah.
because
So that goes
they're
into something that I have complained about is that they keep printing synchro strategies that are like these FTK style things, and that's what Revolution Synchron facilitizes. And those kind of decks do not do very well right now, or it haven't in a while, um, because of the way Yu-Gi-Oh is formatted, where like you have all these hand traps and you have cards like Shifter, Drone Lockbird, and then like right now the format is like you have to have at least like 12 hand traps in your deck. Um, so like Revolution Synchron, not too great when the decks it works best in are those kind of decks.
yeah, when it really needs like because Revolution Synchron in Japan it was a little different because they still had Chaos Ruler at the time, so you
Yes, yeah,
could do like Chaos Ruler is a card that does a lot for relatively little investment,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like Tia was just playing like their Rev Synchron copies as like a
Yeah,
copy of Floor Ball. You know,
yeah,
like
yep.
it was facilitating you to mill more cards, and that is fine.
yeah. And then here it
That is
just
what God
didn't.
intended.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people really thought that Rev Synchron would be good here because we still had the adventure package at full power. unfortunately, at the time still, when the adventure card, like, I don't know if those cards just got like power crept or it's just like the environment has not been favorable to them, but like those cards are terrible when your opponent is milling 20 cards from the top of your deck or banishing the top 7. You know what I mean? Like when your opponent's playing Kashtira and they go, okay, I'll banish 3 with Rise Heart. Okay, I'll banish 3 more with Diablosis. It's like, if you lose one of your adventure cards, your entire, like, now like 12 cards in your deck might just be unplayable, right?
Mhm.
Similarly, when Tyr mills you, yes, like Tyr could mill Enchantress, make your deck better, or they could mill Fateful Adventure, and now your deck does nothing. And it's like, I think it just got to the point where the risk reward like wasn't there when the adventure cards weren't just like converting one card into Dagda, into Dagda Anaconda, or you couldn't just normal summon a tuner monster and then summon Fiber and then get another tuner and make 3 synchros off of normal summon tuner plus Fateful Adventure. When you were using Fateful Adventure just for Griffin Rider, I think people realized like, wow, these cards are not that good. Like when just standalone, they don't do enough. You're putting like 4 bricks in your deck to have a negate that is like sort of a neg-1. And then the deck building restriction of you can't have a normal summonable effect monster, right?
Yeah,
like there was a
anytime
lot.
you try to fit those cards in your deck, you're like, holy shit, this is so many cards. And then also you realize, oh, my deck needs to have also like a bunch of hand traps, or else I'm never going to win going second. And
Yeah.
a lot of the decks now are just functioned as decks that function off 1 or 1.5 cards, and then have a whole bunch of hand traps to back yourself up with and play going second. And Revolution Synchron is not that kind of card. It definitely needs like a lot of other cards to do what it needs to do. And
which is a shame because it feels like when the set was being designed, they probably, I'm even gonna say this isn't even their fault. I'm gonna say like rightfully assumed that Revolution Synchron would be capable of like carrying the value of Duelist Nexus. So they were allowed to design it around Rev Synchron being like the top end card, and then sprinkle in ultra rares that were still good, like the Chimera and the Unchained Lord of Yama. And then it kind of just unfortunately didn't work out that way, where Rev Synchron now is like a $15 secret rare, and it's like it is still the most expensive secret rare in the set, but it's just not. And then, as we've mentioned a lot of times, the value just doesn't quite come together with how the rarity distribution ended up being. And then I think the one that we've always pointed to in the past has been like maybe the Unchained cards, or not the Unchained card, the Chimera cards. If like Mirror Sword Knight or Chimera Fusion or Gazelle, if any of those were not super rares, right? Like if Mirror Sword Knight was an ultra rare, would it be a $10 ultra rare, and then the set would have a little bit more value? Would that even matter? Like, does that even help anyone? Like, I don't know. I feel like it does probably go back to the point where Duelist Nexus you didn't need a Duelist Nexus to have a competitive deck, right? If you wanted to just skip this set entirely, or even just get 2 commons, right? You get Emergency and Preventer. You don't really you do not need to participate in Duelist Nexus for the most part. And then now we've gotten to Agov having so many meta-defining cards that you absolutely have to play, right? And then it's the exact opposite problem, where now instead of ignoring it completely, if you did not get Agov literally right when it came out, all the cards have gone up so much that it's so expensive. And similarly, I think one of the reasons why we could be seeing some of these Phantom Nightmare cards, such as the U-Bells, going up, is it's very, very possible that just enough people have kind of looked back at the last year or so and gone, I didn't buy Hydrant at $5. I didn't buy Pearly at $5. I didn't buy X deck when it was $5. I'm just going to buy all these U-Bell cards when they're $8 because there is more U-Bell cards coming out next set. And if they are good,
is you lost $16.
Yes, literally worst case scenario is I bought a copy of U-Bell 11 Defender for $9. Best case scenario, is I bought a copy of UL the Loving Defender for $9, and next set it's $30, right?
And
Like
then
that's and like
and then you either get to play the deck that you want to play, and not have to worry about it being expensive, or if you want to
yes.
play something else, you can just sell it and
Hmm.
build what you really
I
want to build.
also think Ubel has a special sort of attraction to it, right? Like it's an anime card. We saw that with Battles of Chaos with cards like
What are you trying
the
to
Blue
say?
Eyes
People are
Jet.
attracted to Ubel? What are you
Yeah.
trying?
I will say GX
Well,
is my
anyway,
favorite, and
yeah,
I don't even like UBell, like
that
actually,
too.
which
But
is like
yeah,
weird, but whatever.
I do
I think
not
we've
like
seen
GX,
that
but I think Ubel is cool.
Interesting.
we've seen it before though. Battles of Chaos, I think, was a decent enough identifier for like the random Blue Eyes support that
Sure.
trended upwards. And even when it got reprinted, like you still saw Jet command like $10 in reprint. But maybe I haven't checked it recently,
It's
but
gone
it
down,
was
but it's
maintaining
still
its
a
solid.
little, yeah.
Yeah, these are cards long term. Well, like not long term. Like it's gonna get reprinted in a tin eventually, or maybe not. Who knows? Yeah, like it's probably not gonna hurt you buying it now. So that could also be something to consider. And there's also like the spec buy people that saw like, hey, like why is Mono Ubel going up in value? And you see all these like old copies becoming infinite, even though we know it's getting reprinted in the Battles of Legends thing. For whatever reason, I don't know if there was a Konami release about it on their website, but yeah.
I
So maybe
believe
they
they
just
posted
themed it
pictures
all
of the
together.
box art, and U Bell was on the box
Had
art
Ubel.
of,
God,
yeah.
Yeah.
I
that's
believe that was what
reasonable.
it was, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, like that could be a whole wealth of reasons though. I think it's like a sort of like amalgamation of FOMO plus this card's expensive and it's old and this deck might not even be playable, but maybe it is. We should buy this, and
Hmm.
just all coming together.
Yeah, and
May
I
as well
feel
get
like
it while it's cheap, right?
yeah, and I feel like the voiceless stuff is staying as high as it is. I think we've touched on it. Low is like the only playable secret rare in this set,
Yeah,
which
if you
is
pull a low
crazy.
out of a box,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, okay, that's not true. I think the Blackout Laughs is also a pretty playable card. It just isn't worth much right now, or might not ever be. But like for the record, I think that card is quite strong,
Me
and
too.
we'll see
Yeah.
play in Labyrinth. Like it'll be played. So that card, I'm a
Uh,
little not sure why this is. You can play one, like, and just search
they
it. It's like
they've started cutting it. A lot of the Japanese
all
lists
right.
have
Well,
like no copies. Yeah.
I think this is a card that
Oh
this
no,
is
don't get me
like
wrong. I think this is on par with the Draconian card, like Ice Dragon's Prison.
I
Like
was gonna say like
sure,
Ice
these
Dragon's
are all cards that we
Prison.
thought are very well designed, right? Like
and are
they're not bad
and
by
have
any
seen
means.
play. Like, okay, well,
Yeah, yeah,
I think this card is more, in my opinion, more on the power level of Ice Dragon's Prison than
Yes, 100%.
oh,
than
definitely.
Draconian Aura or whatever. That card was
Okay, yeah,
fine, but
that is
not as
reasonable.
good.
That is reasonable.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I think Iron Thunder is on the level of Draconian Aura, and I think this card is terrible. So
Yes,
say that way,
same.
here we are. But yeah, I think like when you look at low and why that card is 8 times more expensive than the next most expensive secret, or the next 5 times the price, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
It's
They're also getting more support next set.
Yeah, I was gonna
right?
say it's getting more support next set. So even
And I
if
think the next support of the next set makes it like a very, 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 very good deck. Like
yes,
the one card they get is exactly what they needed, in my
yep,
opinion. And
yep.
yeah,
So now we're at this other point where it's like, well, do I buy low for $75? Because if I don't, is it gonna be $100 like Wanted was?
right.
Is this deck gonna be the same power level and ubiquity, and like, is it going to be as popular as all the fire decks are? In my opinion, no. In my opinion, I think Wanted and Diabell Star are a lot more splashable than these cards. Like, this card is like you are playing the Voiceless Voice deck. Like, I don't think you can really splash these into it. I mean, you can splash engines into Voiceless Voice, but I think your deck is you've got 18
cards.
you've got 18 Voices Voice cards in there. Like you're not you're not playing 3 low in a card it searches. Like, you're playing 18 Voices Voice cards, and then maybe you're splashing some other stuff, but.
I have a feeling that after the UDS and the 3v3 tournaments, that we might see low go down slightly, because I think that
Yeah.
I will not fare well in the upcoming tournaments.
I
And
think the
then
UDS
it
is
will
its
go
own
up
sort of.
afterwards.
The UDS is its own can of worms, maybe, because it's so condensed. Like it is 16 people. Like there could be some like leveling in terms of metagaming. So maybe not like a good enough indicator of what the format like should look like compared to once we get like 3v3 Vegas results, I guess, or even like I want to say YCS Sydney results, but who knows?
Yeah.
Uh,
Costa
yeah.
Rica as well. But those
Costa
are,
Rica.
Yeah.
I
That's what
feel
I'm
like a
saying, yeah.
lot of people probably, if they're also going to Vegas, are not even going to post their Costa Rica decks.
Yeah,
I don't
That's why
think,
I think
yeah.
Vegas will be
I
like,
don't know.
Because I know we didn't do that. But
it's all like
when we
in
were in
front of
Mexico
you.
and we had Vegas the next like week or whatever, we didn't post our deck lists.
I think we did because there was a ban list. Yeah, because there was a ban list. Yeah, but we were not going to if there wasn't a ban list.
12 anti-Terelement cards.
Yes.
So it was fine.
Yeah. You were just like, our deck main deck's Grave Keeper's description. We can post it. And I was like, yeah, probably. It doesn't really matter. Like, like it was very different. But yeah,
But
I doubt.
So it'll be interesting to see, because I think what we saw with Vegas last year, which is almost like a similar trend to what we have now, where it's like definitive best deck, except it's sort of spread between two strategies, different trains of thought. But after Vegas, we saw the Kashtira cards go down, despite Kashtira having a very strong showing. And I think another thing that I've noticed from a lot of like the market watch people and like all the other stuff that I've been watching is just people might actually think that the wanted cards will get hit in some capacity. So you might see a downward trend on the secondary market for stuff like this. You also see a lot of people after these events maybe trying to cash out, and then the chart just continues to go down. But then you see the shiny new toys trend upwards, like your Lowe's, your Ubel, like all of that stuff. We might see people, I see people asking for Melodious cards as well, just sort of looking to the future with like another gap in between the next event that they might be playing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in terms of those trends, because without any restrictions, like we saw Cash just barely get hit every single time. And that deck still just kept going down and down and down as people, anticipated a giant hit to just ruin it. And lo and behold, we are here now. And I can tell you in 2024, you can still play Kashtira, and it's probably just fine.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of regionals recently as well.
Yeah.
Which I think that was something like a couple, I don't know if it was last episode or 2 episodes ago, where we were talking about decks, and I think I said, I think it was the Baneless episode, and I think I said when Unicorn went to 3, I was like, I don't think this matters at all, like this deck probably isn't good. And then I think somebody in the comments was like, I mean, there's still like Kashtira monsters, and I read that and I was like, I don't know if that even matters. And then it topped like so many regionals. I'm sitting here like, I'm like, I guess.
The desire to find the shifter strategy has come together.
I mean, definitely shifter summon 2 Kashtira monsters is still good. Like
I guess like, so the other crazy thing to me as well though is like, for the Kashtira cards that came out in Photon Hypernova, we saw a bunch of secret rares, right? Like this is just like the big thing is just like, hey, all 3 of these like big cards are secret rares, and they weren't in the rotation to be in tins for that year. And I think a lot of people were just like, oh, they're just gonna ban Fenrir. It's not going to be in the tins. Nothing's going to matter. Like whatever. And then like,
because that's what Japan did.
Hive mind price decrease of like, I either A, have my Fenris, or B, I'm just not playing Cash.
Well, because Japan banned Fenrir, and I think that's a huge part, right? When Japan banned Fenrir, and we still had a ban list like imminently, I think everybody was like, oh, Fenrir's going to get limited. Fenrir's going to get banned. Whatever. And then, as you said, lo and behold, like I think it's funny. If you load up a Kashtira deck on like DB and you have it on the TCG ban list, literally every card is at 3. And if you switch to OCG ban list, every card is banned except a Rise Heart. Like they just took totally different approaches in TCG and OCG. Like here we banned a Rise Heart, every other card is at 3, nothing else. I mean, and D-Blows, I guess. Everything else is untouched. And then in Japan, they just banned Fenrir, limited Unicorn, limited Planet, and like you can't do anything. Like you do not have a deck. It is not possible to play. And we've seen that a lot. We've seen just complete opposite approaches of hitting decks, and it's always very funny because then at Worlds you get the combined ban list where it's like, if you even think about a Kashtira card, you get DQ'd.
Yes,
if you even think about a Kashtira monster,
I actually have to give them a Fenrir when I show up. That's how many Fenrirs I have available to me.
Right. Okay. So we got really sidetracked. I don't even remember. Oh, right. We were talking about like the cards and prices. Yeah. So I got really sidetracked.
Shiny new toy. Traditionally, shiny new toys have seen an upward trend in situations like this. And I think it might be something we end up seeing, especially like after a big tournament, seeing how TCG has adapted to decks like the Fire King deck or the Snake Eye deck compared to OCG.
Mhm.
And that's something that I will look forward to. You looking at the data after the fact. Yeah, and I don't think the UDS will have as much of a bearing from the general player base because it's going to be the 16 best minds in the game really just going at it, trying to outdo each other. And when that happens, you do have some more niche metagaming stuff that you wouldn't normally do in a traditional
I mean,
tournament
we've seen
setting.
it in the world's playoff tournaments, right? In the 32 person and 60 people like that's, in my opinion, that's kind of what I would equate this to a little bit, of just like,
Yeah.
this is similar to the world's playoff tournaments that we've had, where it's the
Mhm.
16 top point earners and then they're playing a tournament, and it's like some people, I remember like in
Jesse's
2019
Mystic
Jesse played the
Mind
Mystic
and
Mind Sky
Strider.
Striker deck,
Yeah.
yeah, because he expected a field of Thunder Dragon, and he was sort of right, and it worked out. And then last year,
Instead, he was winning with Utopia double against the Mirror Match.
the Mirror Match, yeah, well, yeah,
Fine.
because he
Yeah.
covered both bases, right? He covered
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is you can kind of do that in that narrow format where you figure, okay, half is probably going to play Thunder Dragon and just try to stomp you. The other half's probably going to play some weird Sky Striker deck to beat the Thunder Dragon decks with Mystic Mind or whatever. So I'll have a way to beat both. And then he was the only one that figured out how to beat both, more or less. So he had a really successful venture in that. But and then we saw last year, it was the 32-man tournament. It really ended up being I think it was the Kashtira, like, just everyone kind of just played the decks they liked or they were good with or they had qualified with already. So we didn't see as much metagaming last year, I don't think. I think it was mainly just people playing their decks.
It was very weird because a majority of the people in that tournament had already qualified for Worlds, right?
Yes.
You had Ray, Jesse,
Yes.
and Ryan, who already were playing Master Duel Worlds. Like we already knew that this is what's happening. These are our teams, and they're just sitting there like, hey, good luck,
Yeah.
But we did, we saw, Santoli playing Exorcist that he won a YCS with. You had Patrick,
and then he got the Worlds
Obis,
qualifier
who'd
with
been
that,
playing
right?
Canadian the whole time.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So
it just kept like trending the same decks that people had been playing the entire format. So that's interesting. Maybe it's more like the format was so broad you can't make those sort of narrow decisions compared to the prior years. Like maybe 32 people is too many people to sort of metagame for, but 16 might just be close enough to that sweet spot.
That's true.
Yeah. I think there was also maybe some ambiguity of who would be in that tournament. I know some people were speculated to not show up, so it's like you had a rough idea of who would be in the top 32 playoff for Worlds points last year, but not to the same extent of like, here's the 16 UDS champions, go at it, and you're sort of predicting the field based on like how they play or how long maybe they haven't even been playing at all, which is something to look at as well.
So I guess to wrap up this Phantom Nightmare all in a bow, to wrap it up, right? This set is definitely weaker than Age of Overlord, right? I don't think anybody disagrees with that. But I am a little shocked to see how well it's performing right now. And again, my metric of how well the set is performing, air quotes, is the price on the secondary market. Do people actually want this product? Which is like a whole other debate on the price of the game and whatever. But when we see Duelist Nexus be so $4 a box because nobody wants it, that's not good for the game. And then when we see Age of Overlord be $150 a box because there's not enough of it, that's also not good for the game.
Yeah.
I think this right now is pretty good. I think this is a pretty okay spot. As in, if you are somebody who wants the product, you can get it for about the price you would think of a box.
Yeah.
And if you are a store who bought the product and you need to sell it, you are not taking a tremendous loss like you were with Duelist Nexus. And to be honest, I feel like if you have Age of Overlord still on your shelf, I don't think you could, it's now at a price that's so weird. Is anyone buying it for the price it is listed at now?
Thing to ask yourself, right? Where it's like, how many more wanteds are required to be in the rotation, right?
Yeah.
How many more of these do we have to open to meet demand? And the thing is, I think we've met demand. And I think you're going to see a downtrend for those cards in Age of Overlord. solely based out of like people being priced out, right?
Yeah.
And that's when you see stuff like Phantom Nightmare ticking up, and it's very cyclical. Then we'll have the Rarity Collection, which is going to probably do what the last Rarity Collection did, where you'll see a downward trend for whatever the May set is.
Yeah.
Right, because that was another thing we sort of talked about, and like it all really does come together, but a lot of it does come down to player base and just prior trends, right? So you, the people, you hold the power in your hands. You like this set, you buy this set, good. Set will be fine. You have your Duelist Nexus, you won't have this set, and you'll be upset.
And now we've seen it 3 times. We are now at the 3rd Magicians of Bonds and Unity reprint. I have now made up my mind. I do not think it was a good idea to print this card 4 times.
It was not. No,
that is now the decision. That is now my opinion on the matter.
Now we're gonna get a new one.
Well, no. Well, we still have the 4th one. We still have the.
Well,
then we're gonna get another version of this for 4 more sets.
Are we actually?
Brian,
it's the
I
dragon.
I don't want to ruin anything for you. After singing the praises of Phantom Nightmare, but do not look at the quarter century listings on TCG. You will laugh and say, "Wow,
what?
Awful!" Just everything.
Of everything.
Yeah, just
okay.
the thing that we assumed would happen, where hey, there's not a lot of great ultras or secrets in this set, and what happens when a bad ultra or secret becomes a quarter century rare? You're disappointed.
It becomes $25, right? Is that what it is? Oh, okay. I just opened it. Oh, I see.
I had someone at my locals pull one of these magicians out of their box and then just trade it for a Poplar, and I thought that is crazy.
Yeah, that's
not even to me.
That's like a $10 difference.
The worst one is like you pull a quarter century rare and it is worth half the value of the Poplar, and then you just reevaluate existence. Like it just makes 0 sense.
And again, here we are, right? We keep the crossroads. We keep coming to where we go. Maybe making every card be the high rarity also doesn't work, and a more elegant solution could be found. Because Psychic Processor probably shouldn't be a quarter century secret rare and be $19. But here we are. That's a discussion for another time.
That card also probably should not even be.
That probably shouldn't have been an ultra rare. Yeah. Okay. But that's a discussion for another time that we've arguably already had 4 times. So I guess we can move on to.
Welcome to our weekly. We talk about the same thing with a different.
So I'm gonna pull up the Rarity Collection. What is it called? I'm just gonna type Rarity Collection 2 and see what shows up. And there it is.
There it is.
Rarity Collection 25th Anniversary Rarity Collection 2. Insane name, by the way. Got more details announced. So they did update it to confirm Droll and Ogre also will have their alternate art, because we talked about how that wasn't confirmed last time, but probably was the case, and now it has been confirmed that Droll and Lockbird and Ghost Ogre will have their alt arts.
I'm going to say it was confirmed because of us, by the way.
I don't know if they... all with their variant art. So, also Ghost Mourner and Phantasme, because I believe I said, I think, if I remember correctly, I did say I like Ghost Mourners. Ghost Mourner is one of the only variant art cards that I actually strictly like the alt art better. Appaloosa as well, actually, but most of them.
Appaloosa as well.
Yeah,
you do not like Biker Masquerena?
It's very different. It's fine. I don't dislike it. And similarly, like I like the Rescue Cat alt art, but I think that's a card that I have a hard time like imagining being a different art, because that card's from like 2006 or 5 or whatever, so I think this card's been around for almost 20 years. It's really weird to see it in a different way, but
yeah, I actually like a lot of the alternate arts comparatively. Like I like Droll more. I like
Droll's a good one too. I don't think Ogre's
really
too different. Ghost Ogre's a little too different for me, I think, but Droll's cool.
I also like Nightmare Unicorn. I have definitely used the QCR of that.
I like that one too. I don't like Phantasma's alt art. I really don't.
Me either.
I think that's the one I dislike the most.
Bad.
Yeah, but anyways, the other cards that got, I guess I'll just go through the second wave of announcements. Pearly cards, I don't think this was needed or makes any sense in my opinion.
Well, you have to start off with what it says.
Floof up your Pearly deck. Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry. floof up your Pearly deck, or finally hop on board and build one with 7 different rarities of Pearly, my friend Pearly, and Pearly Pretty Memory.
Oh man, I can't wait to get collector
So
rare
what I
Pearly
don't
cards,
like about
finally.
this
Yep.
is all 3 of these cards already come collector rare, and the ultra rare versions of these cards are only like $7 or $8 right now. I don't know if they're only $7 or $8 because they were announced for a reprint. I guess I will check and make sure, because if these were much more expensive, these are about $15 and they got announced for reprint, not like $8. Okay, that's more reasonable. For some reason, I thought that these were just already like $8, but sure. So these were $15.
They were at some point, and
Yeah,
then
they got
climbed back and
announced.
then bounced
Yeah,
back.
they got
I think it was
announced for
after the
reprint.
ban list came out. They actually they went up a little bit, and then here we are now.
And then my friend Pearly, this card was like $12. But so all of these cards were already trending downwards, so I'm not even sure. Sure, I'm gonna meet in the middle and say without these reprints being announced, these cards would be like $10, which is not an unreasonable amount for the most expensive card in your deck. Like, I feel like you could have built an entire Pearly deck for around $100, to be honest, which is extremely reasonable for, like, you know, what it is. But sure, here we are. Now you can get more Pearlies. What I'm a little concerned about is it only lists Pearly, My Friend Pearly, and Pearly Pretty Memory, which are specifically the only ones that already came collector's rare. And I actually feel like I would have rather them reprinted the other Pearly cards to give them higher rarities.
Version,
but like, I don't know. But I guess it's like, what it's good and bad about the Rarity Collection is you can either slot in expensive cards you want to make cheaper because you have the low rarity printings. But I think this is also an opportunity to slot in cheap cards that could benefit from a high rarity printing because of, you know, how the set works. So on the one hand, I'm hoping there are other Pearly cards in there so you can get them all foil. But on the other hand, I don't think I want 12 cards of this set to be Pearly cards, because I think I'd rather there be more generic cards in the set. If there are only 80 cards in the set, I don't think I want every single Pearly card in here, right? Because then I don't want an eighth of every pack I open to be, I don't want every single pack I open to have a Pearly card. I'd want them to be more generic cards that, you know, you can use in multiple decks. But anyways.
I'm also very intrigued as to what happens with the tins when we have amazing defenders printing. Like obviously there is a workaround to this, and they did it for last year's tins, but I just want to see the makeup of it again, because like I think it can either be the greatest tin ever, assuming the fire cards is still relevant in the metagame, I suppose, or it'll be one of the worst tins.
Well, the tins won't have Poplar or Princess, right? Because they skated into the February.
Like, that one we've accepted. It's more so, I think, for Age of Overlord having such high card quality.
Sure, like Wanted and SP.
Where are we at? Like, are the Horus cards just going to fit the Bestial roll from last year's tins? And even if, like, it's not, you know, crazy good, like it could have been, you know, like we're missing out on Sprite and tier cards, like, sure. I still think the tins were fine. But for this year's ones, like I'm waiting to see, like, what if they just, you know, completely void every Wanted or Sinful Spoils card from Age of Overlord in that set, and then we just have a very watered down tin. But time will tell.
Remember, we didn't have access code in the tins when it was due for a reprint, and it was saved for way later, right? In Maximum Gold.
Like shortly after, it was in Gold, so that was like a couple months later.
Yeah, which is bizarre, but whatever. You know, and then we had a card like Extravagance come out earlier than the tins in the Toon Chaos set, which is sure, you know, whatever. Anyways.
But then we also saw it's funny that you bring that up, because I completely neglected that whenever we talk about something like Droplet, for like 2022, where it's like, here it is in the water set and here it is in the tin, but
in
also
Battles of Legend. In Battles of Legend, or Brothers of Legend. Yeah, that card got reprinted a lot, like very quickly.
It kept doing it. It's like,
which is fine, but as we've said many times, when you reprint the same card a bunch of times very quickly, not only does it, like, devaluing the card is whatever, it devalues the like, when you put Droplet in the water set, people go, oh wow, Droplet's in the water set. Then you put Droplet in the next reprint set, now not
Why are we
only
buying the water
why are
set?
why are we buying the water set, and two,
Yeah.
if you already bought the water set, why are you buying this set? Right?
Mhm.
Like it's just the products cannibalize each other, and that's where I feel like that's truly, in my opinion, the most feel bad like opening product in Yu-Gi-Oh! In modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Comes from the same cards being in a bunch of sets really close to each other.
Yeah,
Because when you're just opening the same cards over and over and over and over again, that is when it begins to feel bad to open product. But
Truth be told, that's how I do feel about like the Rarity Collection itself in terms of like a product that you will open. I feel like it's cool because of all of like the different rarities, and like it really hits that nice
sure, yeah.
serotonin receptor in my brain.
Mhm.
Like the the dopamine is releasing itself as we speak. But just seeing the same card over and over again, like it's actually kind of tilting. So I'll agree with that.
Yep.
It's not to say a set's bad, for that reason alone, but I think for some people, like I like singles from the Rarity Collection more than actually opening the product. So take that how you will.
Polish up your trap selection with the trifecta of Solemn Judgment,
Boy.
Solemn Warning, and Solemn Strike.
Ryan, what do these cards have in common with other things that tend to happen in a set like this?
They are all already ultimate rare, and 2 of them are already collector's rare, and they're all already have low rarity printings too.
Yep.
So I don't see the need
I mean,
for the, because this is the one. This is the one.
Like,
these are the cards that confuse me because they are already both not very hard to get and have high rarity printings. So I don't quite know where they fit. Is Solemn Judgment? I know Solemn Judgment is one that very frequently is just, it was sort of had like the Allure of Darkness problem where like no matter how many times they reprinted it, it was still a couple bucks, and then until finally it wasn't, and I don't know if we've crossed that line, and it has crossed that line. It finally is not.
Maintaining. They were like a solid like $3. Even
no, but
from,
it was just common in the Fire
set.
King structure deck.
And
it was super rare in Maze of Memories. So
yeah.
I think,
but, like,
and
even the Maze copy though, it's like it's not Ash Blossom like level of like Solemn, but I think Solemn just being a card that you play 3 copies of like every single time is probably good enough for that card to maintain a $2 or $3 price.
Well, that's what I mean. Is I'm saying like Solemn Judgment for the longest time. Solemn Judgment has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15. Solemn Judgment has 22 printings.
That is
I think hilarious. That's what I'm looking at right here. I think Solemn Judgment has 22 printings.
12, 16.
Which this card has
19.
19. Yeah. I think I'm counting Moderators twice because it got the 25th anniversary edition. So I'm probably counting I'm probably counting Moderators multiple times.
That's fair. Actually, you almost you might be counting like
so sure. Yeah, so it's probably 19. Yeah, no. So it's probably 19 printings, or I'm also probably counting Battle Pack as 2, even though it's like it's Starfoil and rare. But so let's say Solemn Judgment has at least 18 printings, and it was a card that was still always a couple bucks. I think now they have finally gotten it to be under $1 because I see like 4 different printings being under $1, right? So here we are. So now it's like, I honestly feel like if this was in Rarity Collection, if this was in the last Rarity Collection, it would have been a little better because it would have been before the most recent common printing of the Fire King structure deck. But whatever, like I think Solemn Warning is, in my opinion, so grossly power crept out of playability that I don't see this being like, I think Solemn Warning is pretty far power crept, and I can't see this card being very good ever again, but maybe something crazy will happen. Strike is a little better, I think, and like has a much higher chance of still being played. Oh my god, this card is worthless. I did not realize the Grand Creator Solemn Strike rare was 10 cents. Oh my god. I did not realize this card was 10 cents. I felt like when this was printed in Grand Creators, it was like a big deal that it was a rare, and people thought it would be like a couple bucks.
It had a comment before then, right? In one of the
it might have
Mechanized Madness.
That's the one.
Sure did. Oh, and it was in Dual Devastator. I didn't even remember that. Wow, this card is so are these cards like terrible? No. Does it provide any value to this set? Not really, in my opinion. And like, I think it's like, when I look at this and I go, man, this set's only 79 cards. Do I really want 3 of them to be Solemn Strike, Solemn Warning, and Solemn Judgment? Which like are not hard to get and already have high rarity printings, like, I don't know. It's whatever.
It really just goes with their idea of like you know, putting it in rotation, but like in rotation as in I can go to my local Walmart
This
and
card
buy
was
a couple
just
packs of
in
this.
the Fire
No,
King structure deck.
I understand. No, I understand completely. But I think that is them, you know, the
This
rhyme or
card is in
reason that they will have.
rotation. This card is
I
the most recent
understand. No,
structure
I
deck.
agree. I agree. But once you have to put warning and strike in.
I
You got to
guess.
put solemn
Yeah.
judgment in. I
Sure.
suppose, but
I like. You can argue Judgment is like an Edison reprint too. Like that card, it was like played in Edison, and like it's gone up a little bit, but and then Warning barely misses out.
You might also see
Warning's a plant card. Yeah, I know.
Kangaroo,
yeah, I know. Strike is playable in I don't think anybody likes formats. I don't think anybody's ever gone back and played a format that Strike was legal. Like I think it's a bit too modern, I think, for us to go back and want to play those again, but we'll see. Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse, Preparation of Rites, and Emergency Teleport, and then Gold Sark that it specifically mentions. Like,
that one's weird.
I don't know why it mentions Gold Sark specifically, but whatever. Book of Moon again, a million printings, a million different high rarity printings. Like it I don't like this one. This was also
how many times has this card been ultra in the last 4 years?
Yeah. It has an ultimate. It has an ultimate. It has a CP super. It has a speed dual prize card super. It has like 2 secret rares. It has like 2 or 3 ultra rares. Like it has so many. Like I don't think, and it has like a million commons. Like, I don't think Book of Moon is a card that needed to be here. Book of Eclipse, I think, is a bit better. I think that's a card that fits perfectly in a set like this. And I guess you could argue, haha, if we put in Eclipse, we have to put in Book of Moon. No, you don't. But whatever. You know. Book of Eclipse.
What do they put the other like the lunar eclipse and
yeah, what do they put lunar eclipse in? Yeah.
Book of Taiyu.
Book of Taiyu. Book of Life. Yeah, I think Book of Eclipse is a much better fit.
Book of Life might be a good Edison reprint.
That one. That's true. Book of Eclipse, in my opinion, is a much better pick because this card already has like the wide swath of rarities. Like it has an Astroblack Super, it has a Dual Devastator Ultra, which I still think the Dual Devastator Ultra, like the Dual Devastator card quality, like the print quality, I do not think is very good. So I don't mind having
they are just like turbo warped out of the dual.
So I don't mind having a new Ultra of this. And then it was in Battles of Legend Monstrous Revenge as a secret, which is like sort of the highest printing of this card, I guess. But this card does not have any like actual like premium printing. So getting this in Ultimate and CR and the new Platinum and QCR, I think this is fine, right? Like I think this is a card that is.
I don't hate that they've done this already before making it an ultimate rare in like OTS or something, right? Like, and this card also was it was a rare in Tactical Masters.
Yes, it was.
Right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Okay, so that means we dodged a collector rare printing of that card, which at the time probably felt criminal. Like that seems like a card that could just as easily be collector rare. But now we're getting all of them at once. I think that's fine. This is probably the correct way to do a card like Eclipse. Like Book of Eclipse is an old enough card, which I think is very funny, and like it just became playable in the last 5-6-ish years.
Yeah,
right?
but Book of Eclipse came out like 2008, and it wasn't like played till 2015.
Genesis,
right? Yeah, it didn't see play till 7 years later.
Yeah, that is true.
So,
but like it took this long, and like you're looking at something, even something like Book of Moon as well. Like if we look at like these really old cards and just like. Again, if we look at it from like like a random curve perspective, where it's like here it is low rarity. Book of Moon at one point its highest rarity was only the super rare, right? Like then that was it, and then just you had random ultras sprinkled in between, and we had our ulti, and now we're gonna have all the luxury rarities. Like I think those are cards that I think are more reasonable, I guess, in terms of like long term playability, less niche than something like Warning. I suppose Strike, maybe you can probably argue for it a little bit more. But
well, do you know how much Collector's Rare Solemn Strikes were before the reprint got announced?
Honestly, I don't think they were that expensive.
They're $20.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what I said, Jeff.
They like 50 or something.
No. Collector's Rare Solemn Strikes before this reprint. They actually didn't go down at all from this reprint because I think there are enough people that differentiate the old Collector's Rares to the new ones anyway that like these are just pretty much the same. Like
yeah, because they're also reprinting Emergency Teleport, and I have Collector's Rare Emergency Teleport, so and they're like $25 right
Yeah.
now.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah. Emergency teleport. So emergency teleport is one that I will actually. This is going to sound like I'm just contradicting myself based on what I said previously, because this already has a ultimate rare or whatever. It has a collector's rare, but I don't mind this one as much because other than the collector's rare, I truly feel like every printing of this card is like so old that they are just crumbling to dust.
Mhm.
Right? Just because
like it was a tournament playable card when it was an ulti, and
Yeah.
like this is like standard, right? It's like this card was used.
Yeah,
This
like
card was
I feel this
used,
way
abused, and stuff.
about Allure Darkness, Emergency Teleport, like all of those like Teledad or prior era cards are like
Mhm.
they are played. They are heavily played. Like you cannot find a good condition version of these cards anymore because every single one that existed was in someone's deck. You know, these cards
like,
were
when
highly
you do
sought
find
after.
a good condition ulti, like first E-Tele or something to that extent, like why would you play with it?
Yeah,
right?
you don't want to
Like,
play with it anymore
sort of
because
circle it back every single time.
yeah.
And this is sort of where sets like this come in, right? It's like luxury rarity. It's new, it's fresh. You can play with these cards and not worry about getting DQ'd at an event. You know, not to say that that happens every time. Like, don't, burn your old ultimate rares, but there is a chance that they do have yellowing at the top, or maybe they have, some creases or folds, or like just ways to identify
because
the
they've been
card.
played for 15 years,
Yeah,
like
no,
people have been playing
exactly.
it for 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
so this
Yeah.
one, although it sounds like I would mind, I think the reason I don't mind this one as much as I mind the Book of Moon one is I feel like other than like the CP Super, the Book of Moon reprints were like speed duel secret like last week. And Battles of Legend Ultra like a year and a half or 2 years ago. Like they're just all very very like recent new printings. When E-Tele, I think it had a Ghost from the Past, and then other than that, the most recent one, there's the rare from Grand Creators with the collector's rare. There was the one Ghost from the Past printing, and then I think the one before that was like Legendary Collection 5Ds like a decade ago.
Yeah. The
so
secret, yeah.
I'm like even those, right? And like even those kind of feel like they're getting up there in terms of like these are old cards,
Yeah.
So it has been. I think E-Tele is way less accessible than Book of Moon, just based. And E-Tele doesn't have 19 common starter deck printings either.
Yeah.
Right. Like Book of Moon has. Book of Moon was probably in the 2-player starter set last week. Probably.
Honestly,
like I don't know, but it might have been. It was in the 2-player starter deck. Yeah.
Something to note about the Gold Sock being, singled out in this, the product page. I don't want to go back and check Magnificent Mavens, but I feel like Gold Sock was also a focal point for their the Pharaoh rare. I think part of me just feels like Gold Sock was mentioned by name, and I think Gold Sock is iconic enough if you existed back when it was a prize card. I think kids now do not even consider.
Oh
that
yeah,
to
they would have no idea why
Yeah.
Gold Sark is even singled out. Like,
but for me and for my friends, like I have friends who play old format, like quite frequently.
Mhm.
And when they had the Pharaohs or Gold Sock, like they were very happy, right?
I think the Pharaohs or Gold Sark is great.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because I think it gives you this nice luxury rarity, and like I think this is a very good set to put a card like Gold Sock in, right? We don't have any other rarities that printed compared to some of these other cards. Gold Sock's still like very very niche, like not like playable in the current format, but has like this sort of like if this card ever comes back to 3, who knows what it could do sort of vibe. And I think that's a good card for a set like this. Like I think that is a card that really it comes down to like, is this card printed enough? Maybe, probably. Like it has a common, a super, everything else. Like, does it need to be in the set? No, not really. But from a cosmetic standpoint, I think this is the perfect card for a set like this.
I also think it fits the bill. I still want more cards, and this is also why I feel like sure, the Solemns fit this, and like Book of Moon and Eclipse and E-Tele definitely fits this, so does Gold Sark. I would like more of a celebration of this being the anniversary Rarity Collection. I want more historically powerful cards like, and especially the ones that haven't had high rarity printings in a million years. And again, I know it seems I know it seems like my stance on Book of Moon and Nitelli are opposites when they should be aligned, but Book of Moon has just had so many high rarity printings recently, like that I'm just not, it was an OTS Ultimate, like a couple years ago, like not, but I want to see more stuff like Allure of Darkness, Foolish Burial, cards that haven't had a high rarity printing in 12 years, or in Allure of Darkness's case, 16, right? Like Allure had the Ultra and Ultimate when it came out, and every reprint since then has been, I think it's just been like super common, rare, super common. I think it just got a Speed Duel Secret, and it just doesn't have any. It doesn't have any of like the modern high rarities. It doesn't have Cloud Rare, doesn't have QCR, doesn't have Starlight, or anything. So
is Allure a card that has, like, this is something we can maybe look at later.
mm-hmm.
Part of me thinks the artwork on Allure of Darkness, and going back to a card like Beginning of the End, what if there is just a world where they're very like, hey, what if like we
you just can't
print
see
this
it
card in these rarities that you will not be able to tell what
You'll
this
be able to
card
tell.
is.
That's
why I want to look at some of the OCG Rarity collections, or like equivalent sets, and see if Allure of Darkness has a collector rare printing in Japan or something, where it's like more embossed and maybe you can see it a bit better.
Sure.
But then we compare it to like an English printing, and maybe it just won't pop as much, and that's sort of like why they're holding back. And I think the only solve for that is probably actually I don't know how to solve that. Maybe that is something they've considered, because it feels like a card they haven't reprinted when they could have, multiple times in the last 5, 6, 7, or 8 years, when the card has just been playable. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's gotten. It was in Brothers of Legend. It was Speed Duel Common recently, I'm pretty sure, and then it was in like a Speed Duel
just
Common
in terms of like cosmetic, like luxury rarity.
Sure.
I feel like that one's a serial offender of what we talked about before. Of like, this card was old. Card's been playable for God knows how long, and every max rarity copy that you get is very likely to have an imperfection that might discern it from another card in your deck and make it unplayable.
Yeah,
therein lies the problem. So.
Preparation of Rites. I think this card is perfectly acceptable. They did pre-prep in the last one. Great, do prep in this one. Fantastic pick, actually. I think that's a card I wouldn't have thought about, but seeing it, I'm like, this makes a lot of sense, especially because there's a new ritual deck that just came out. I don't even know if Voice's Voice plays prep. I know it plays pre-prep, but oh well. Oh well. I think this card is fine. Like, it's a fine pick for something like this. DD Crow, sure, makes sense. Every other hand trap has been in the last two. Might as well put DD Crow in there. Is there any hand trap that's missing now, really? Like, between Rarity Collection 1 and 2? I can't think of one. Like,
yes, because I thought about it the other
Ghost
day,
Reaper?
but now I can't remember what it is. I think it is Ghost Reaper.
But there's an alt art, right? So it will probably be in here, probably, but
it wasn't mentioned. I don't know why they wouldn't mention it with the other ones.
That's a good point. And same with Spooky Dogwood, but that card isn't real, so that card doesn't exist. So I'm not gonna count that one. But yeah, most of all of them are here between the first Rarity collections now. So yeah, I think the Crow makes sense. And then Saravis, the Ancient and Descended. Sure. I think I would have rather seen this be in an OTS pack, but it probably needs a reprint because of its playability and Voiceless Voice.
It was also in Dual Devastator, right?
Yeah, sure. That was a long time ago. But
it was also like a rare in one of the deck building sets.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was,
Oh, let me see. And Amazing Defenders. Never mind. I take it all back. This card did not need a reprint. Okay. Oh well. It'll be fine. Okay. Whatever. It's fine.
I mean, look, giving a card like that a rarity bump is completely reasonable. That card was played generically over the years. I think it's okay, and now it's really coming to its own as a big card in the Voiceless deck. It's perfectly reasonable reprint. It's okay.
Yeah. Sure, I suppose you've talked me into it. So yeah, that I guess covers the second wave of reveals for this Rarity Collection 2 thing. All in all, I think the second wave of stuff they revealed is weaker than the first wave of stuff they announced.
I think this entire set is going to be weaker because almost everything good was in the first one.
Fair enough. But what I mean is like I feel like Warning, Judgment, Strike, Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse is way less impressive than all the planets, IP, Apo, Alt Art,
Hmm.
you know, like Access Code, Magician's Soul. It's like, um, yeah, which kind of worries me that those might just be the best cards in the set. But we still have what, like 50 some cards left to be revealed? Like,
Right, yeah, but usually they put like the biggest things on the like in the press release, so
yeah.
I wouldn't expect anything too crazy unless I don't know what they'd be saving it for, but yeah. Also, it's just kind of those things like we said when we saw the first Rarity Collection, what the hell else can they even put in sets now? So many
Yeah.
things are like
And I
getting
think the
ridiculous
answers
to look
were
stuff.
the alt art cards. And then they said, here are the alt art cards. And we're like, great, there are 50 slots left. You
Yeah.
know, like what else is it going to be? So, yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I truly hope this set is, as good as the first one somehow. I don't know how it could be, unless if they put alt art Ash in this, um, I wouldn't even be mad, honestly. That'd be kind of fine with me if they did the alt arts of everything.
Sure.
Even if they did alt arts of all, like if they did alt art Bell, alt art Ash, all the alt arts, I wouldn't even be mad. I'd be like, that's reasonable, I guess. But I would also like Droll and Ghost Ogre to have both arts in here, but that's not. I don't think that's a huge deal. I hope Phantasmate does not. I hope Phantasmate has both arts. I really hope Phantasmate has both of them. I would be kind of upset if Phantasmate is only the alt art
Yes.
because I just don't like that
It
one.
looks very bad.
The rest of them are fine, but I wonder if we'll see Stratos in here because I guess we can segue this into the Battles of Legend. We just got the full set list for the Battles of Legend set, and Stratos is in both the alt art and the original art in that set. So, Battle of Legend Chapter 1, it's similar to the other, from what I understand, it's similar to the other compilation sets where you get a little box and it has, I think, 3 packs in it, and then it also has a secret rare that's like a promo. And one of the promo secret rares is the original art Stratos, and it's secret rare. And then in the pack, you can get an alt art Stratos, and it's ultra rare. And similarly, there's alt art Cyber Dragon and original art Cyber Dragon also just in the pack. But I don't know. Have you guys looked at this set list extensively? I know we've talked about like a couple small things in here, but I looked at it quite a lot, and I don't really know what to think. But did either of you have anything that
So
like jumped out at you as like being cool or being weird or like?
Well, we were talking about this before you
yeah.
showed up, and it was very funny that you bring this up because I think we both think this set is something that is not worth opening from like the perspective of like, hey, you're at your locals, like open this. The value probably isn't there, right? Like that seems like a very standard thing with a lot of sets like this. However, I think a lot of these reprints were very, very good. Like I'm talking like, like Edison, other old formats, right? It's fine. Light Swan cards, we have Light Swan support coming out in Legacy of Destruction, right? Or whatever it's called.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, yeah, yeah. And then we have the UBL cards getting reprinted. We have UBL support that was released in Phantom Nightmare, completely reasonable. And then just a lot of like really not to say like overdue reprints, but just reprints that are very refreshing. The kaiju's, that's fine. I think it's completely reasonable. Even stuff like Ecol in a higher rarity, we saw that one uptrend because of Edison as well. Gimmick Puppet, same sort of thing. Like, just necessary ones for like the current metagame where I feel like maybe they had a little bit more freedom when making this set list. Maybe this was planned a lot earlier and none of this matters, but I think it's just refreshing to look at this, knowing that a lot of these cards will either be playable, no, maybe not playable, but like integrate well with cards that just came out, will come out, older formats, current format. I think this is a really decent reprint list. Just in the grand scheme of things, I like this. I don't like the product that it is, though.
Sure,
I
sure.
think
You don't
these are
like,
cards that might have been
yeah.
better in something else, right?
Sure. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I sort of feel that way too. The more you think of it, or
Mm.
the more I think of it, it's like it is weird to look at this and see like common Almirage and like
Yeah,
sci-frame
yeah.
driver only, with no sci-frame gears.
The
Like that
filler
is
cards
weird,
are
right?
very, very bad.
Yeah.
I agree,
Which
like
I
100%.
understand. So I
Yeah.
know
So
sci-frame
the thing is
driver.
with this,
Yeah.
when I look at the set, is like Bohdan said, yeah, these are some great reprints of cards that needed reprinting, but there is absolutely no reason to open this set.
Yeah.
No one
Yeah.
should look at the set and say, I need a Galaxy Ice Photon Lord. I'm going to buy packs trying to pull it.
Yeah.
No one in their right mind
Yeah.
would do
No
that.
one's gonna do. Yeah. It's like.
What should have been done is like
Ugh.
with every other set, is added quarter century secret version to this, and that way it's actually people might want to open it
Hmm.
because I mean you can pull where quarter century Minerva, Judgment Dragon, like there's like a lot of cards in here that'd be really cool to pull QCR version of, but
The
now
Chaos Emperor,
the
like,
Chaos Emperor, yeah,
yeah.
like but now like what reason does any person have to open this? Like none,
I mean, I
really.
kind of feel like that's the same way with like the tins in recent years too. Mainly just like last year's tins. I truly felt like they lacked from like a chase rarity
Mm.
version of cards, which again brings us back to the same like I don't know. It sort of is like, well, we look at Phantom Nightmare and we see the QCR and we see the QCRs of random nonsense cards and they're worth nothing. And then we see an opportunity to have QCRs of popular cards that could be worth something and they're just not in here, right? And that's where it gets weird. And like this set has the 25th anniversary logo on it. I'm pretty sure all products printed this year have that on them.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like I don't know if that's even I don't know if that means even anything, but I feel like it wouldn't have been out of the question to somehow like I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of decisions to make, to make the rarities of these cards, but yeah, it does feel weird that there are like there are so many of these cards in here that are just like common only, and it's like I don't know. And I know this is the uh this is the configuration that all of the weird like compilation sets have had with the commons and then ultras and then the dice. But it's like I feel like those have been the worst products they've released in the last couple of years, right? And I
Apparently
feel
not, man.
like
Enough for them to bring this out again.
I guess,
Who
right?
knows?
Yeah, maybe I
Konami
guess.
has the numbers we don't. Like, this
Yeah,
has to be a decent selling set. But the thing is, I think this is a set that's really good to open. If you're a store and you just are able to buy this set at like cost, right? Like you crack this, you break it down. It's bordering like a Pokemon product where like maybe the dice, are getting you 10% of your net like cost, and then like the cards slowly accumulate as you go. And if no one else is opening this in quantity, like you could probably command a pretty decent portion of like a TCG player page, right? Like if no one's cracking this, who's to say that common elemental hero Gaia doesn't become a $1 or $2 card?
yeah.
You can probably say this about multiple other cards in a set like this, especially because like I think this set is still big enough where like pulling a card. Oh, let me look at the breakdown real quick.
It's
30. You know
163
what? Now you get
cards.
30 comments. Forget it. You can probably just pull it whenever you want.
Oh, you get 30 commons per box.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably
yeah.
right. Well,
So like I think break maybe like at a base level, like maybe these sets have been good for Konami because stores will buy it. People probably won't buy it from stores, and then stores will break it down, and they'll secure their bag that way.
yeah, maybe.
That's something to consider.
I don't know. One thing that I do think like so yes, a lot of these cards, but I don't think all of them have been in Battles of Legend sets previously. I know almost all of them have, but I do not believe. I know there are some that like I know Spiral Double Helix was not in a Battles of Legend set. I know that much. That much I know. So there are cards that have not been in Battles of Legend sets, but most of these have been. But it still so I understand Cyframe Driver was an ultra rare in Battles of Legend 1, and then it was the only Cyframe in that set because Cyframe Driver didn't have a foil printing, but Cyframes were heavily played, and they decided to give it a super rare.
So why
ultra
is
rare.
it in this?
Yeah,
set?
why is it in this set? And then we see Cyframe Lambda is also in this set as a common, and it's like very bizarre to have Lambda and Driver and no other Cyframes when it's like I feel like you could have filled this set out with like Delta Epsilon, even if you don't want to put in Gamma because Gamma have Delta and Epsilon ever been reprinted? I don't think so.
Nope.
No, I think
Yeah.
Delta's actually very expensive. Well,
Yeah.
Delta and Beta went up, right?
Delta.
Yeah, I got the. I think whatever one.
Delta's $15.
Ryan, where have you
Yeah,
been?
yeah. I'm surprised you didn't know this. That one.
What?
That was a recent one.
Yeah, I had to buy them for $6 the other
Delta's
day.
$15. Oh my god, I'm gonna throw up. Oh my lord. Okay, well now my point stands. Why wasn't Delta in this set? right? Like I just. Oh my god, I had no idea. Oh my god, that is disgusting. Okay, sorry, I need a minute. I'm actually oh my god. Oh my god. This card is $16? What? Sorry, I'm like, this is like an existential crisis for me.
Yes, Ryan is.
My entire train of thought was just derailed. This is okay. Okay, great. Yeah.
Incredible.
So very good. Why wasn't Delta in this set? Like, if Jesus, that would have fit nicely.
Fun fact, just very quickly, I would like to bring this up. If
Yeah.
you type in Delta on TCG Player and sort it by best match, right? Do you know what is what is less expensive than the rare from High Speed Riders, which came out in 2015? So Cyframe Gear Delta at $15.
Uh-huh.
Collector Rare Maze of Millennia. Photon Delta Wing Collector Rare. $14. All right, think about it. Really comes together when you look at that little page as you type in Delta.
God.
Anyway, all right, let's get back to.
I had no idea this card was so much. All right. Anyways,
all right. So general consensus.
You won an event with Cyframe, Ryan.
I know. Oh,
where are your Cyframe cards at?
They're right here. They're actually on my desk right now. I actually, when I saw it was $16, one of my things was just like, do I still have that? Like, I'm sure I have that X somewhere. Like, sure, it's on my desk somewhere, and it's somewhere. Like, I know I still own this card because I was thinking about playing it, and I was like, oh my god. Okay. Anyways, wow, that's gross. Yeah. So why wasn't Delta in this set? I feel like it could have been.
Just don't ask questions.
Who knows? Whatever. But
good reprints. Bad set. Agreed.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't even think that's. Yeah. I don't think that's too far off how I feel about this.
Yeah.
I don't really get why was Double Helix just in this set as a comment. Like Spiral Quick Fix was a QCR in the last Battles of Legend. I feel like Double Helix could have been a Rarity Collection if they want, I feel like that could have actually been like an okay card. Putting it here as a common just seems so weird. But whatever. In my opinion, the most important reprints in this actually are like, I think Elder Hero Gaia, as you said, that card was really getting up there for Edison. Absolute Zero desperately needed a reprint for Edison.
Mm-hmm.
That card was getting really expensive for no reason. Finally, we have a reprint of Black Lodge Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, because the last 5 were not enough.
Yeah,
finally,
they love reprinting that card.
Finally, we have that card accessible. It took us. The journey sure was long, but we finally got there. Yeah. Minerva being an Ultra is weird, but I guess you weren't going to make it a secret again, so I guess it's fine. I also feel like Minerva could have been in the Rarity Collection, right? Like, that seems like a card that could have just been in the Rarity Collection and would have done very well. But I guess you have to put something in. I think there it goes, right? That's kind of just goes back to what we've kind of been saying for the last hour. Just like all these products are so weird. It's so weird to balance these products when you've announced that in 2 months you will have the be-all end-all reprint set part 2, right? You had your be-all end-all reprint set last year, and I've announced part 2 of the the reprint set. So how do you balance reprint sets in the 6 months in the meantime? And is the answer like you just can't? Like, every card in this set that is sought after, that needed a reprint, could have just been in the Rarity Collection and done quite well. But instead, we're putting them in here because this product has to exist. And then you just have an awkward middle-of-the-road reprint set for, like, if you're a really competitive player, right? And I think that's the most important. I think it's the most important thing. If you're an extremely competitive player, this product offers nothing for you, but that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. Not every product needs to offer something for every type of player. It's obviously better if they do, but not every product has to offer something for every type of player. If you're an extremely casual player, does this offer enough random anime odds and ends, heroes and Black Wings and Lightsworn? Lightsworn weren't in the anime, but they're popular cards for casuals, I think. Does this offer enough random odds and ends that you're satisfied opening this? Maybe, right? Is that who this
I
is directed towards?
I I
Perhaps.
I don't know. I mean, I have a pretty big locals, I think, compared to like a lot of other places, and we definitely have like, I mean, we have like between 30 and 50 people every week
Hmm.
for locals, but we
Yeah.
also have like 10 people who don't play in the tournaments and just play for fun on the side. So they like, never play in tournaments.
Yeah.
And like these people would not buy this kind of product still.
Sure.
So I really don't know. Maybe there are people out there who are like, oh yeah, I want this dice and like maybe open some packs, but like I think those people also would just rather open packs where they can pull like cool cards from as well, and it's not this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really awkward, isn't it?
Casual people, I feel like gambling, and
Sure, yeah, and does this not? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It is. It is so. It's so weird to. Again, it's so weird to evaluate a set like this from our perspective because obviously this set is not for us, and that's fine, right? Not every set has to be for the really competitive people that go to every event and play only like a couple decks that we think are the absolute best ones. But like, I don't think like there are 163 cards in this set. I don't have any use for any of them. Like, it's just weird, but. I don't know. It's also just so weird again because so many of these cards are reprints of cards that like already weren't hard to get, and it's just so weird. Like I don't understand because then I look at this and I go, there are still cards from the Battles of Legends set that are expensive that weren't in here. I'm gonna bring this. What is this one? What number is this one? Number 76. This card's only printing is Battles of Legend Heroes Revenge. This card's $8 to $10. And it wasn't in this set. And I don't know why. I don't know what, like, I don't know. It's also like a number card. I think that's the one that also just like it's a number card and it wasn't in this set. And it is the most expensive card from Battles of Legend Heroes Revenge that did not like that doesn't already have a reprint. Battles of the Heroes Revenge Blackluster Soldier Link was still like $10. Absolute Zero is $10, but those both already have other reprints. Traptrix Sarah was was about the same price, but it was in the Traptrix structure deck. And then Salamander Almirage has been reprinted maybe even twice already. So number 76 Harmonizer is the most expensive card from this set that did not already have a reprint, and it's not in this set. And when a card like that doesn't make it into this set, I don't understand what's happening, I guess. Like I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like I that's the one where there's just a huge disconnect for me where like I can't imagine. I don't know what decision making was going on for that to happen, and I don't. Is this card going to be in something else? Why would it be? Right?
Here
Like
we go.
why?
Rarity Collection.
Why, but like why? Then why wouldn't it just be? Like this is. I think this is the one where just makes my brain hurt. Like I don't understand how this card didn't make it into this set. And then a couple other ones that I'm not like I get how it didn't, but I'm kind of surprised it didn't. I'm kind of surprised Dugaris wasn't in this set. I know Dugaris was reprinted in Ghost from the Past, but it is a number card, and even the Ghost from the Past reprint was still like $2 or $3. I'm kind of surprised it wasn't in this set. I don't think it's like a great failing that it wasn't. Like Dugaris is only a $2 card. It's not the end of the world. But I'm kind of surprised it wasn't in this set. Yeah, I don't. Other than that, I think everything else that I think kind of had to be in here, I guess, kind of was in here. The only other one, I don't think this matters. Again, so many of these weird cards made it, and then so many cards from Battles of Legend that have never gotten a reprint didn't make it. Like the Magical Musketeer Link, it's only like a $2 card, but it has no reprints. I feel like it would have been fine for that card to be in here. I don't know. I guess I don't know how. It's just weird to me to see so many of these super strange cards get reprinted and not some that were only in Battles of Legend somehow not make it. But at this point, I've just accepted there's so many things going on behind the scenes that I'll never know why these decisions are made.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's about all I've got on this. And if you guys have any closing thoughts on?
No, absolutely not. I hate the set.
Okay, so then last thing to talk about, I guess. Bohdan and I recently had some experiences playing tournaments of other card games, and I guess wanted to talk a little bit about it. And I think Bohdan, you wanted to like talk about the prizing in those games as well. And
yeah, well, we'll just we'll do a quick brush over. Like mine was less eventful. I didn't have an invite to One Piece Nationals, and then the only way to get a ticket was either try to high roll on the Saturday morning, where you would randomly get an entry in based on people that didn't already have a ticket, that didn't show up, or that did have a ticket and didn't show up. Or you would have to play tournaments. I played an online event. I went X2. I didn't get a ticket. I came like 20 something. Then the ticket went down to like 17th. I played a live event on the Friday, which was a 300-person side event, mind you, on a Friday at the One Piece Nationals. It was a public holiday in Australia, but still just unheard of for a 300-person side event. Gave out 8 tickets. The pricing wasn't particularly amazing for either of those events, but I think they were just done as filler. So I would have liked to have seen something different, maybe like a last chance qualifier or whatever. But this didn't happen in North America or Europe. It was really just an Australia thing, so probably a little more contained. I went to win that event. I got my ticket. I played the main. I did terribly. Deck choice and also just probably didn't play well enough. Otherwise, the event pricing, crazy, whatever. One Piece, haha, you've all probably heard about it. And then we'll get on to Ryan stuff, and then we can talk about pricing.
No. Talk
afterwards.
about what about the One Piece pricing, because I know you talked about a little bit, but
well,
like
I feel like we can maybe condense it a little bit more after the fact and sort of just look at each game's pricing and then maybe compare it to Yu-Gi-Oh, because I think there's a lot of people who just say, hey, like this pricing is so good, it's worth X, Y, and Z, but like there's other stuff we can sort of add to that as we go. But we'll go over your breakdown. Mine is very concise. You actually accomplished something. We're very proud of you. So I'd like for you to talk about that for let me check my watch, as long as you want.
Yeah. So the last couple months, I guess, I have been practicing so it is no longer called the My Hero card game. I've been corrected on that. It was called that for a while. Now they've branched out into Universus, which I've made some videos on it here on this channel, and we actually have some deck profiles from One Piece on the channel now that Bohdan was just talking about.
We really do.
But yeah, so it's Universus now, and the World Championship and the event that I went to was My Hero cards only. It was like the last like big like My Hero only event, and then they added some new franchises, and this year they're branching out into more IPs. It's going to be a whole different thing where like you can play My Hero against Cowboy Bebop and Yu Yu Hakusho and Attack on Titan and a bunch of other stuff coming out, which we'll get into later. But yeah, so I was unable to go to Nationals for the game because it was the same day as YCS Indy, which I chose to go to Indy instead. I regretted it because I did not have fun at Indy, and I wish I had just gone to Nationals for My Hero. So Worlds was in Orlando, Florida, and it was a 32-person event, but only 28 seats were predetermined. And there was an LCQ on the Friday where top 4 get a Worlds invite, and any people who qualified who couldn't go to Worlds, their spot would also be added to the LCQ. So like 5th place or like 6th place or however many people couldn't go would also get a Worlds invite. So I was grinding a lot for this. I played with Mitch, good friend of Jeff's as well, a lot because we really like the same deck. And we just practiced like a ton for the month leading up to the event. So on Friday was the LCQ, and I got 5th place. and exactly one person was unable to attend from Worlds, so I got the one of one fictitious pass down invite. So I was truly the 32nd person to qualify out of 32 for the World Championship. So Worlds was the next day, and it is a 32 person double elim tournament, and there was no time limit for any of the matches, which I like. On one hand, from a logistics standpoint, that is insane, right? Like it is truly crazy to have none of your matches be timed at all. However, it is the World Championship and it was a 2-day event, so I guess it's fine. But going into that, right, there are some deck building choices that can be made because you're no longer playing from, like, there are definitely certain strategies in card games that I think we can all agree are less or more viable depending on the tournament setting. Like if Yu-Gi-Oh only had 10-minute rounds, the decks that are viable are very different, right? But if Yu-Gi-Oh was completely untimed, again, the decks, and strategies would be that are viable also be very different. But a bunch of people definitely leaned into the there is no time limit, and I will say their decks had dubious win conditions at best. And I think a lot of people, they played the most defensive decks ever and were honestly probably just trying to deck people out. And for the LCQ, that was not an option because the Friday LCQ, there were timed rounds and there was no top cut playoff. It was all based on Swiss standing. So if you played a really defensive deck that would go into time a lot, you would get a lot of draws and you would just knock yourself out of the tournament because you could not get 8th place and then play out, and then win in top cut and then get your invite. You had to just be at the top of the Swiss standings. So you had to go X1 or better. So I was playing an aggro deck for the LCQ, and it was the only deck I knew how to play because I've been playing the same deck for 9 months now. So I played this deck for Worlds, which had no time limit, which in hindsight, I probably should have made some adjustments to my deck to account for the fact that everyone's decks were going to be really defensive. But it ended up working out. Like, I think this deck was just very good anyway. And I ended up getting 5th place at Worlds for my hero, despite getting the 30-second pass down invite. So, and actually, the person that got first in the LCQ won Worlds, and the person that got 4th at the LCQ got 3rd at Worlds. And I know, and that seems at first glance very strange that of the 5 people that got the last minute pass down invite, 3 of them were in the top 5 placements of Worlds. But when you really think about it, if 27 people qualified for the event in October and 5 people qualified for the event by topping an event yesterday, it probably makes sense that the people that topped an event in this format yesterday on average did extremely well, right? Like that probably checks out when everyone else who qualified for this tournament qualified in a different format with a previous ban list without the most recent set being released 3 months ago. And then some people played an event yesterday and did well in that event. It kind of makes sense that they would just also do well in the main event. So I posted about this on Facebook. I didn't post about it on Twitter at all. I probably should have, but I don't know. My prizing were like world exclusive like promo cards, and then I got the one I was most excited about was the top 8 card was Hawks, and Hawks is my favorite character from my hero. So I have essentially it's called a Chrome Rare, and it's essentially like that game's equivalent of like Starlight Rares, and it's serialized and says top 8 on it, and it's probably never going to be distributed ever again because I feel like that would be weird if they distributed the world's prize card again. So there are probably 4 of these top 8 stamped Hawkses in existence, and there will never be more. And I think that's super cool. And I don't think I had any expectations for how I would do. I obviously did not think it was outside of the realm of possibility that I would make it, or else I wouldn't have gone. I guess, like, I went to Orlando to play a tournament on Friday with the assumption of I either get top 4 or 5 and go to Worlds, or I do not, and then I'm just here to play side events for 2 days. But yeah, all in all, I had a really great experience. I really enjoyed it. I think the game is a lot of fun still. I am kind of afraid that the character that I like playing, Jiro, is rotating out of the format. And I'm a little bit afraid that I might just like playing Jiro and might not actually like playing the game. but I guess we'll see.
Right,
because I have
funny.
only played Jiro since April. Like, I started playing the game in April, I think, or April or May. It's one of the podcasts like a while ago that we talked about it. Was the first time I started playing it. So, and I have entered 5 events only with Jiro. So I am afraid that if I change characters, I will not actually enjoy the game as much. But I'm optimistic. There's Yu Yu Hakusho is coming out soon. I know Jeffrey likes Yu Yu Hakusho, so he's going to try to play for a little bit at least. And then if he likes it, he'll keep playing. If not, then he won't, we'll see. But
if I like playing Kurama,
yes, if you like playing Kurama, then you will keep playing. If not, then it's done. But yeah. Yeah, it was kind of insane actually to go from essentially like playing the game for less than a year to like top 8ing Worlds was like kind of crazy.
So, were you able to like sell any of your prizing, or if not, did anyone offer you anything for your prizing?
The only offers I got immediately at the venue were for Hawks, which was the only thing I was for sure not selling. So
Right.
That's fair.
some people were
Well,
like,
how much did
"Are you
get an
selling
offer
Hawks?"
for?
And I was
Yeah,
like,
what was-
everybody said, "So, are you selling Hawks?" And I was like, "No." And they went, "Understandable." And then just, they were like, I was like, "Yeah, no." I've seen a couple of, I haven't seen anybody post the Hawks on the trade groups, but the non top cut Chrome Rare Hawks from the set, I've seen sell between like $500 and $700. So I imagine this has to be more than that. And I think, yeah. So I imagine it has to be, like, I would say this, like if you were to tell me like what is the number that you would sell it for, I truly probably would not sell this for any reasonable number. Like, it would have to be a ludicrous number, because it's just something that I really wanted. Like, this is something that like this is like, I wanted this more than anything. So like, to me, this is like, if I keep this forever, whatever. But like, I would say, as far as like, I could see somebody else selling this for like probably like 1,200, 1,500, maybe a little more.
Okay.
And then there were other promos with it, and other prize cards too. So I've seen the top 32 Ochako card. I've seen people post it and buy it for like 150, 200. And I've seen the top 16 Todoroki card also get listed and purchased on some of these trade groups for like 250, 300. And the top 16 Chrome Rare was Dobby instead of Hawks, and I've seen that go for like 6, 7, I think. So, and then I don't know about the playmats or whatever, right? Like, playmats are always really weird. It's it's like
And
whatever.
Dobby's
somebody,
like a pretty like popular character, right?
I think so.
Or
I don't
no?
particularly care for him, but like, I'd say he's less popular. So like, the top 16 prize card was Dobby, top 8 was Hawks, top 4 was Endeavor, finalist was Bakugo, and the champion card was Midoriya. So I feel like Dobby is not as popular as any of those other characters, but he's probably still, like, he's probably still up there. But yeah, so I don't know. All in all, I would say like, so as far as like prizing for like the World Championship, obviously if you compare this to Yu-Gi-Oh, like the Yu-Gi-Oh World Championship prize cards are obviously much more than these, right? Like, it's not even comparable. But this game is much smaller, and most of the larger events, like I would say like if I compare this to, I would honestly compare this more to like a YCS.
Yeah.
And if I compare this to a YCS, I am I'm obviously like, oh, and like I'd say from like a top 8 prizing perspective, right? If I compare this to a YCS, even if I compare this to Yu-Gi-Oh! Nationals, like I'm not gonna compare this to Yu-Gi-Oh! Worlds because Yu-Gi-Oh! Worlds is a whole other discussion of like, you know, the of whatever. But even if I compare
Well,
this to
even
like,
comparing it to nationals is like you have the flights and accommodation to worlds as well if you do well, where it becomes
yes, if you get
kind
top
of
4, yeah.
skewed, right?
Yeah, I
Oh
agree.
yeah.
Well, so I would say like my prizing for top 8 I'm pretty content with, in my opinion. Like as far as like what happened, you know, like if I wanted to sell everything, I could probably get, you know, a couple thousand for it, and like that's not bad, I don't think, for what it was, right? Like for, especially for me being like I qualified in a Friday tournament, you know, in a Friday 1-day tournament with no top cut, and then played the event Saturday and Sunday. Like I have no right to complain about anything. because as I said, I was like the one passed down invite. Like I was the most fictitious participant of
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
But yeah, I think like the person who wins gets like the first place prize was like 11 promos, you know, like 11 prize cards, and like they probably could sell those for whatever they wanted, because like 2 or 3 of them are like one of one cards, you know. So literally whatever they want is what they would get, and then
Yeah.
they get an invite to next year's Worlds again, and you know, other stuff. So I would say like the prize scaling, I think the prize scaling was probably fine. Each tier, you know, from 32 to 16 to 8 to 4, you got an additional promo, and then your chrome rare was a different card. So like, and you can presume the chrome rares get more valuable as you move up, and then you just get an extra promo. So I actually got like another top 8
It was
Hawks.
cumulative, right?
It
So
was,
like if you make top
yeah,
16, you also get top 32 pricing. Okay.
except for there were it's really weird. There except for one aspect of prizing. So you got playmats, you got promos, and then you got chrome rares. The chrome rares were the only things that weren't cumulative. So each placement got a different chrome rare, but you got every playmat and every other promo. Like
That
as
is
you,
quite interesting.
yeah.
I
So
think that's
for
cool.
example, I didn't get the Dobby, for example, but I got the other top 16 card and the other top 32 card. So I ended up
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
4. I ended up getting 4 prize cards and 3 play mats, because I got the top 32 mat, the top 16 mat, and the top 8 mat. So then the person that got top 4 would get 1 more play mat than me and 1 more promo than me, basically. But then the person who wins gets all of the chrome rares. So they get all 5 of them. So they basically, yeah. So the person that gets, so winning versus getting second is probably like a 10x or, you know, 5x difference, which is fine, I guess. But anyways, yeah, the prizing, and then, you know, there was some prizing just for qualifying. Like I got, you know, like a special deck box that like was, they only had them that weekend, that, you know, was like branded for the game. And it was like a pretty substantial, like big folding double deck box. It was like pretty good actually. You know, some other playmats like that were only given out that weekend. You know, there was like a My Hero playmat with Endeavor with one of the scenes from the anime, and then it was like I got a Cowboy Bebop 25th anniversary mat that they were only giving out as prizing for that weekend. That I think if you have like points on the store, you can redeem them online or something. And some other stuff, like I got like, you know, some product and other odds and ends. But yeah, all in all, like if I compare it again, if I compare it to Yu-Gi-Oh! Worlds, it's obviously not close. The World Championship for Yu-Gi-Oh! Is probably one of the only tournaments where the prizing is actually crazy, right? Like everything else, we've spent enough time talking about how, like, the prizing for YCS, if you do not win, is not good, right? Like
Oh no, for sure, for
it's
sure.
just not.
But I guess like what I want to sort of look at
Mhm.
is if we just very quick, like obviously we can't really compare your event, which is, you know, it's the World Championship, whatever. Like obviously you would have to look at like a lower tier, but if we scale it versus like a YCS, or we
Mhm.
scale it versus like, so like for One Piece Nationals, I genuinely believe I would have to put this next to like a WCQ, right? Like a North
Yeah.
American or a European
Also, a
Championship
random thing,
WCQ.
because Ryan didn't mention it, at least I didn't hear
Mm.
him say it. If you win, you also get to
Oh,
make your own card.
Yes,
that one is
if you
pretty
win the
relevant.
world championship, you get to make your own card, which is insane. Obviously, that's just that is a super
So,
cool prize. Yeah.
mm. So
Yes.
just quickly though, so if you've been if listening to this and like what Ryan has been saying, and he's talked about a lot of things that are strictly cosmetics or accessories or otherwise, right? There's no consoles, there's no money, there's no nothing.
Yeah.
And that's something we also see in the One Piece card game, right? So just quickly, the One Piece I'm I guess they just called it the championship final, so it wasn't
Hmm.
differentiated between regions.
Sure.
Participation pricing. We'll look at Europe because North America, for whatever reason, didn't get a participation playmat. So, if we're in Europe, which is probably a good chunk of our listeners, hopefully, you have participation playmat, right? This is unique to Europe, Latin America, Oceania. I think anything in terms of its value will be artificial based on it not being released in North America, right? That's whatever. This is probably something we don't have to look at as often because it happens in Yu-Gi-Oh a lot. And then you have Event Pack 2, basically an OTS pack. Then you have Championship 2023 Event Pack, which is a branded event pack that just says Championship like stamped on the cards. And then you have Championship 2023 Celebration Pack. This is your participation pricing. Um, and do we think this is better, worse, on par with the WCQ participation pricing that we get normally, which is just what, a playmat and a pack of sleeves? Granted, like you do have to qualify, so it's like 50-50. I think this is already better just because you are getting something unique to the event itself. And we've seen traditionally that unique pricing for these WCQs does tend to stand out long term. The Crystal BLS being a big one. The unique pricing for that championship we had in 2022, I think, was something that I was hoping they would continue to do. And then we went into 2023 and we did not
I
have
was
that at
also
all.
hoping they
So
would
that's
continue that, and they did not.
yeah, so that's kind of upsetting.
Yeah.
So I guess unique. As we have rattled home countless times, uh, championship packs, like to that extent that are marked, by a specific year. Those are unique enough. They're going to meet their minimum order quantity. Enough is going to be printed because there is multiple regions that will require these packs. Whether or not they'll be localized, I'd assume not, because prize cards themselves aren't localized for Latin America or otherwise. So that's participation pricing. And another one that I think I would like to see introduced to larger Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments is scaled pricing based on some arbitrary number. And that can be 512, 256, 128. And we do that all the way up until, your top cuts and whatever else. But it does sort of make you feel like you are not wasting a day after you no longer have a topping record. So for One Piece, the 512 from a 2,500-person event, which was Euros. I think the 512 ended up being an X3 on X4 record. It might have actually gone down to X5, but I could be wrong. And that got you an extra 2 championship event packs and another 4 celebration packs. And then we go into 256, where this is all cumulative, mind you. So if you're keeping track of the amount of packs that you've gotten, we're at what, like 3 championship event packs and 6 celebration packs. 256, you get 2 more event packs. We're at 3 event pack 2s. And then we get another 2 championship event packs, another 4 championship celebration packs. Keep it scaling. We're almost at the fabled booster box that you would get for top 16 of a YCS. We're still looking at this. More championship branded packs. They're just throwing them at you when you make top 128. You get another 3 and another 4. And then we get into 2 top 64, where we sort of hit, the big boy pricing, right? Like this is where you would be in a Yu-Gi-Oh WCQ, whether it be North America or Europe. You'd hit your top 64, and that's where you're gonna get your top cut playmat, and then whatever else. And obviously, over the years, those have gone down in price. Playmats are really just falling out of favor in terms of pricing for these events. I don't think they're unique enough, regardless of what artwork and or branding or otherwise you put on it. There's no real demand coming out of Asia. Fakes are too easy to make of these playmats, and there's just no general appeal. So when we look at the top 64 pricing for the One Piece event, and we see more packs on top and a unique top players pack, which is something that again we have rattled home countless times about YCSs should maybe do something like this for top 32. And then that way, you lose in top 32, you get a playmat. How about instead you lose in top 32, you get a pack with potential for high roll. It's unique enough, and you can only get this item by making top cut, right? Like that's basically where it's coming from here. It's just still no money, still no electronics, still nothing like that, right? We get into top 32, you're getting another 2 top player packs, more celebration packs, more event. You get an event finalist pack, again, just more things that are branded as top player finalists, whatever. Just stuff that really, it doesn't mean anything outside of cosmetics. And then you get into top 16, and this is where the big money came in. I had multiple friends make top 16 across a couple regions, and they got an uncut sheet for top 16 on top of their finalists, top player packs, like all of the other stuff that I've talked about before. The uncut sheets have been selling for 20 to 30,000 US dollars. It is an uncut sheet of the last set, which has 3 of the manga artworks of
Alt art
Luffy.
cards, yeah.
Yeah, the alt arts. Yeah, so it's a sheet of the alts pretty much, and then it has the 3 manga cards on it. It doesn't have the signed Luffy. For those of you that do play One Piece, they have a signed card in their last set and 3 manga cards. So this is a really cool sheet to have. This would be on par, I think, with the uncut sheets we have at YCS's now of like uncut Starlight Res. I think this one is a little bit better because it's one of each alt plus manga. So it would be like having one of each quarter century on a sheet, which I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh generally does. So maybe these sheets themselves are unique
They have side
compared to
event.
ones that would
They
come
have
out.
side event sheets that have like
No,
uncut Starlight sheets and stuff like that.
but they don't have like one of like this.
Oh, not a
This is
complete
like
set
having
sheet.
one
No,
of each quarter
yeah,
century. Yeah. So like
they
I
do not
think
have that.
the sheets that Yu-Gi-Oh gives out are the sheets that would come from the factory anyway, and the
Right.
sheets that One Piece game out are unique enough to just be that. So like they're commanding a high price, and then obviously as you scale further into fourth, third, second, and first, fourth place, as this tradition, gets spat on, and third through to first, they get a championship trophy card, and it is Kaido, and it is branded as third place will have a bronze finish, second place has a silver finish, and first place has a gold finish. Uh, First through to third also get a trophy. Again, that is part and parcel in most card games. That's fine. And then obviously you still have like your other top player packs all accumulating as you go. Um, and then you have the first and second getting a world championship invite. Again, should be the standard for events like this in most card games. So sort of ignore that for the most part. And then just quickly on the specialty prize card, one of those third place prize cards sold for 50,000 US dollars, and that was almost 2 or 3 days after the event had concluded.
Yeah,
Which is absurd to me. Like it's
yeah,
unheard of.
that is
If you come
crazy.
third place in this One Piece event, you are getting life changing money. However, and I need to bring this, I need to mention this, and I've said this to Jeff, I've said this to other people. These prizes aren't that good on the surface, right? You are just getting thrown a bunch of packs. Are any of these better than a Nintendo Switch, right? Like if you put those in front of two people that know nothing else about what's going on, you put packs in front of them, you put the Nintendo Switch in front of them. What has more tangible value? The Nintendo Switch, right? Like that's just like how stuff works. So like if you really break down every single thing that a YCS does versus like one of these One Piece events, I think a YCS is better. The thing is, these One Piece events, they really play on how much people enjoy the IP, and they're just pumping out all of these unique alt arts, like differentiating stuff from these championship events versus like other events and just making it more and more unique, right? And I think that is one thing that other card games do have to take away. And My Hero was doing a similar thing. Is just look at how these cosmetics are doing in these games and how much of like a ridiculous price they're commanding after the fact compared to a Nintendo Switch that someone could just purchase for $200 at like a Best Buy or like a Walmart or something. And look at how simple it can be and how much money Konami would actually save
They
if
would
they
literally
just followed
save by just making
one
alt art
for
cards.
one.
Yeah.
You would no longer have to spend your whatever price break you get buying Nintendo Switches for the top 8 of a YCS.
Right,
You
you
would
just get
just give
things
them
mass
packs and
printed
you
in
would
a
have them.
factory for
Yes.
pennies.
Yes, literally. And they could just do this, and we could have maybe similar price trends, unique enough cards that would stimulate the secondary market, increasing the value of the pricing that you are getting at an event. Like that. What's another thing we can look at? Well, these playmats aren't cutting it. Well, yeah, playmats all you get if you lose in top cut of a YCS, right?
Or you get
Same with
a
top cut of a
box.
WC.
You get a box. Imagine getting a
Huh?
box of Dune.
You get the box when you lose in top
Top
16. You
16. I
still have
know.
to win a
I
match.
know you have to win a
Yeah.
match to get I know. I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
So I think all we can really take away from this, without again just saying the things we've said before,
Mm-hmm.
we have seen this system work. And I think that's something that I think it's like we're such a vocal minority from like a competitive like competitive players, right? Vocal minority.
Yeah.
Casual players tend to be a vocal majority, which we see with a lot of like these reprint sort of sets of people like Yu-Gi-Oh is too expensive, whatever. I personally think that this is more of an injustice than how they're printing, modern Yu-Gi-Oh. I think the pricing, if it one for one, this One Piece thing with unique enough cards and unique enough, like event to event sort of basis in terms of pricing, you would see continued numbers. In terms of participation, I think it'd maintain. Obviously, it can't go bigger because we're seeing caps and like event hire is very expensive. So it'd probably be where we're at now, but Konami could save money by not having to purchase these electronics. These playmats that you're printing in bulk are still more expensive than you just getting a bunch of packs shipped to you, right? Like that's another one. Like freight for playmats is just unnecessary, and you probably just don't need playmats anymore. So that's my one takeaway from like playing One Piece, watching Ryan play My Hero. More cosmetics. The kids love it. Other card games are doing it. It's fine. Don't need cash. Don't need electronics. Give me quarter century Dark Magician Gold as a winner card. First, second, third, gold, silver, bronze. We'll all be rich. Everyone will eat. Yu-Gi-Oh will be saved. That's all I gotta say.
And I truly think, like, I understand what they're going for with the Another Verse stuff, but it just doesn't cut it because it's just nothing, right? Like Another Verse Dragon is just a guy. Like Another Verse Gluttonia is just a thing, it doesn't mean anything in the greater like Yu-Gi-Oh landscape. Like it's not an iconic card linked to the IP, like and I think it's telling that like some of the most iconic prize cards we've had, like the most iconic like World's prize cards were the Dark Magician and Blue Eyes ones in 2013, right? Those are the only ones I remember, but they are. The only
Yeah.
those are the only ones that I can. I couldn't tell you
I think
what.
everything else tends to So like obviously if the artwork is good, there's like a little hidden tax in terms of like how sought after that prize card
Yeah.
would be. But that only gets you so far in certain instances. And yes, like I think that the pit boss I think was also a big one that people sort of look at as like
I
iconic
really like
because
the
like
pit boss, yeah.
yeah, it's like, is this an e-hero? No, it's an entertainment hero, and you have some other cool lore behind it. I think those are very, very interesting. Those are unique enough, and like drawing inspiration is really, really cool, right? Like they're all based on the region that the events are ran in. Like
Yeah.
Pit Boss was given out at Worlds that was hosted
At
in
Vegas,
Vegas.
yeah.
I think that is great.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that is unique enough, and that's why like Worlds is such a different breed and it's so special. And Worlds doesn't have to give out cash or electronics
Doesn't give
and
yeah
stuff
Worlds
like
does,
that.
doesn't
Like,
doesn't give out electronics. It gives out prize cards that
yeah,
are worth way more.
yes, literally. So the way I think it's a very archaic system that a lot of these card games are doing. And I think if we do look at something like One Piece, it's like what One Piece right now, if it wasn't One Piece, I don't think any of these prizes would command a high price point. Like
Sure.
it is very, very
No,
carried by
One
the
Piece as an IP is bigger than Yu-Gi-Oh. So
Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. But it's like again, like after having played Battle Spirits, without the cash, all of the other stuff that they gave you is literally worth not even close to what it's printed on.
Mhm.
So it's like you make your top 32, and here's a finalist, unique artwork, different rarity sort of pack, and it's like okay, and now what? I wish I got more money. But for Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like there's enough demand, there's enough people just being happy with like you see it when they open a shitty set, and it's like, yeah, they just like opening packs. It's like, yeah, well, give the secondary market something to be, rattled up about. Give them unique pricing. Make a season instead of 12 months. We make it 6 months, and you change the prize card after 6 months or something. Have like a winter and summer sort of end to end of like YCS seasons, and give yourself unique pricing in that, that way. And I think that could be a really, really interesting thing. But I definitely think Konami has their eyes on games like Bandai, games like One Piece and like Bandai, just based on how they've approached pricing, and like they still have the demand and everything else. So like, who
I
knows?
hope
Maybe
they're
we'll see it
looking
in
at
the
it.
future.
I hope they
Yeah.
are. Like,
Yeah, dude. If you're looking at someone doing like without having to give out cash, and you're looking at these One Piece things, you would instantly think like, wow, they're geniuses.
I
They
hope
they are
so.
literally they're printing money. Like just
I
let's
hope
copy them
so.
one for one.
Yeah, I
And
really would hope they
look at
will.
how simple it was to get almost 3,000 people into their WCQ, and people had to be turned away, and they had to cut rounds. They had to like for what I understand, the North American one was ran incredibly poorly. However,
Mm-hmm.
everyone was happy that they got their One Piece stuff. Like no one truly cared. The people that didn't make Top Cut, or the people that stone bubbled, still walked away with thousands of dollars worth of participation
I
prizes,
think
unique to
that's yeah,
themselves.
I think that's
And I think that is
the biggest one, I think, coming from Yu-Gi-Oh and then playing My Hero and Universus or whatever it's called now. The fact that prizing exists outside of Top Cut, and this is true just for a lot of games. Like Yu-Gi-Oh might be the only game where if you get 33rd, they just spit on you. Like I'm pretty sure literally every other game, like Pokemon, there's prizing, there's points at least for like Worlds or whatever. For Magic, there's payout to above Top Cut. Although Magic does it differently. Magic has a really, really small Top Cut, and then they just pay out like
other
nice.
games you're upset that you missed Top Cut, right? But like the scaling can be terrible. Like I think for one of the Battle Spirits ones, I came like 17th, and the pay jump was like another 5 or 750 if I came 16th, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I was just like, oh wow, that sucks. But like, at least in any other card game, if I just miss this, this cutoff by one spot, like I'm probably just walking home with nothing, right? Like
Yeah.
that, like you said, like, oh well, I guess, man. And I think that so okay. As we brought up this before, it's like, oh well, what do we think about participation pricing? And then obviously there were other factors when we talked about it, for like how Konami can run these events and do everything otherwise. But what I think would be cool, is just completely ignoring the core sets, having maybe some unique event packs, as we talked about before, but even just looking at this championship pricing. And if they only do this for the WCQ, I'm sure everyone will be happy with it, because again, it makes it more unique. It's not happening at a YCS. If we want to look at a YCS equivalent in One Piece, it would be the Treasure Cups or the regionals, which you give out serial cards, and those again sell for thousands of dollars, and you get them when you make top 8, and the pricing scales like top 64, 32, 16, and you can come top 64 and still get a $300 card for no reason. But if they only do it for the WCQ, and they do unique pricing like this, they really throw it back to like 2022, where they didn't have to throw more Nintendo Switches at you, just a bunch of shit that you really just don't really care for, that you're going to end up selling anyway. If they just give you unique enough pricing, and they try it 1 year, and they see how people are receptive to it, I think it'd be a good change of pace. My problem, I think, with Konami itself is that they're not willing to take the chance on something like that. Like, if they do that, that is something that will happen either once and never again, or once and then they have to go through a bunch of bureaucratic red tape with Konami Japan regarding like, hey, we want approval for this, and this. We're going to redo our entire pricing, and it'll be better for your bottom line. And Konami Japan will be like, all right, let me check. And then 12 months later, you'll get a response. It'll be like, we don't think it's appropriate right now. But again, neither here nor there. So yeah, food for thought, something to look at. Not necessarily that these card games are giving out more pricing monetarily, because at the end of the day, like, the packs are worth nothing. The packs are worth what the secondary market dictates them to be worth. And a YCS prize, like YCS prizes aren't actually that bad in the grand scheme of things if you just break it down pen to paper. The issue is what players want versus like the value on top, right? It's like, this Nintendo Switch is worth more than these packs. Yes, but does your public want to play for a Nintendo Switch? They want to play for something unique that you could only get at this event. Just something to really make it feel special compared to where we're at now, where it doesn't feel special. It just feels tedious and
Yes,
upsetting.
because
Everyone
again,
will post their photo of their 24 packs
yeah,
in a
I've said
plastic
this.
bag.
I've said this time and time again. If it was strict, so one, if it was strictly for the money, we could be doing literally anything else, right? If it was strictly for the money, you could do anything else at all, literally anything, and it would be better, more profitable. So then we're left with uniqueness, or like something you actually want, and it's like the other thing is like a Nintendo Switch is 7 years old, and and is
completely ignoring that one, obviously.
Yeah, and
that
also,
one's whatever.
Yeah, it's 7 years old, and it's sold 140 million, and everyone has one. And it's literally like whatever, right? A box of the new set for top 16. I actually think it's criminal that top 16 is a box of the newest set. That is literally criminal. That is less packs that I get than topping my locals.
Oh yeah,
like that is actually criminal. And nobody wants it. I think that's the other thing. Nobody wants it. It should just be something else. It should just be anything else. I don't. Oh God. I know we've talked about this a number of times. But I'm sitting here thinking about it more, and it's just like when I put it into words, it is crazy when I think like.
All right, so I do want to wrap this up,
Yeah.
but I do think that there is a very we talked about how we think it'd be pretty simple to implement some changes and cheaper probably in certain ways. I think that something that they should do is it seems that every year now, when they start kind of like a new block or something like that, there's a new kind of lore archetype introduced now.
Yeah.
And I think that when they do that, that year's YCSs should just have prizes based around that. So, like in Japan right now, they are getting a Diabellstar playmat at their YCS that's coming up, and they also have her counterpart Diabellese, which is like the white version of her.
Yeah.
There's sleeves based off of her. So for YCSs, if you just had prizes based around if they had Elbez themed, you got a special rare Elbez prize card,
Well,
or
Jeff, let me tell you, I'm looking at my desk right now. There's another Verse Dragon sleeves on here. Did we get those at YCSs?
yeah,
Guess who got
no.
them? Japan national qualifier.
Oh, great.
Right. So if you if they did, Diabellstar themed stuff. So if you topped, you got Diabellstar sleeves exclusive to only if you top, and then if you get win a thing.
Well, I think there should have been YCS exclusive sleeves for a long time now. The fact that they just reuse WCQ sleeves also is insane. The fact that there aren't just sleeves that just say YCS on them is crazy. I can't believe that hasn't happened yet, actually. But whatever. Ugh. And we've seen the judge sleeves most of the time be expensive. So I can't imagine.
I don't see sleeves. Anyone. Out of all the tournaments I play in, I never see anyone use those sleeves. I don't think I've seen a person use them.
I'm the only one.
Yes.
I am the only one who
they
uses
are designed for Ryan and only Ryan.
Yeah, but they gave them to you. You didn't go out your way to buy them.
That's true.
Right?
I did not buy them. You're right.
I do not know anyone who has bought them and used them. I've never sat down with against an opponent and their sleeves just a judge at all. I think I don't know, maybe this is I don't know if this is I just think that putting judges on things makes them less valuable.
Oh, yeah, probably. I think you're probably right. Putting the judge, as crazy as it is, putting a judge logo on an item makes it less valuable because it makes it harder to sell, right? It makes it.
Yeah, I also feel that way. Yeah. Kind of if something says a playmat that says top 32 on it, I feel like it'd be very hard to get rid of because a lot of people would feel weird about it. Oh, did you buy this top 32 mat? Did you get top 32? You'd be like, no, I bought it.
Yeah,
right?
And it's weird. I agree. It is weird.
So when they make all these things, there's judge on it in big letters. I think that makes it worse and harder for
because somebody will go
oh,
are you a judge? And they go, no. And then you're like,
Well,
oh,
hey,
okay.
another thing that One Piece did that I think other games sort of neglected is their top 8 playmat is different artwork, but instead of it being branded as like top cut playmat X, Y, and Z, it just says championship playmat. So
That's
I
what
think
that's what
other games sort of have seen that. It's like, hey, we just don't give it
yeah,
anything
that's what our
that
WCQ
identifies it.
mats, both the WCQ mats just say WCQ, and then the top cut ones is different art. So we do that too.
Sure.
But
Yeah, that's good
yeah,
then. I haven't looked at those mats in God knows
yeah,
how
yeah,
long.
yeah, I understand. Yeah,
Again, they go in the room of play
yeah,
mats. Yeah.
playmats or whatever. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about that. The right. So I guess I'll bring that back. I don't think a YCS branding would make it harder to sell. I don't think if you had sleeves that just said YCS on them, and had a color,
No.
just like the WCQ sleeves, I don't think those would be crazy. Like, I think those would be borderline perfect for what we need. Like, the fact that there are regional deck boxes and not YCS deck boxes also is crazy to me, right? I feel like just these little simple things should exist, and I don't but they don't, and like, I don't know. And this is all YCS pricing. I don't even want to think about how I would revamp regional pricing. I think the only conclusion that we came to was we would make OTS packs, but specifically for regionals, and just cross our fingers and pray that people would want them, and just see what happens, right? And like, that would be the only one. Like, you just make regional prize packs.
Again, even every time we talk about how we think the regional pricing is lacking quite
I know
significantly,
there's 500 people at a
you
Chicago
still- yeah.
regional, and there's standing room only.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
insane. Like, here's the Philly regional. Oh, it hit cap. Or, okay.
Yep.
I didn't know it had a cap. All right, cool. Continue.
I didn't know it had a cap. Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, and
It's one of those things. It's like, why should we change? It's
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating, but now I'm just gonna get mad because you brought that up.
I know.
And so thank you.
I know.
Hey,
the duality of man.
You were playing a tournament for a diamond ring this weekend.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Hypothetically.
Yeah. It is crazy when we see 90%.
Maybe I have to win the ring and throw it into a volcano to get
better pricing.
Yeah, Jeff has to sacrifice
the diamond and gold ring for better prize support for the world. I would do it, honestly, if that was
It truly is crazy to see 90% of Yu-Gi-Oh discourse be cards are too expensive and prizing is not good, and then every single event has record attendance. And I just go, okay, who among you is lying? Who among you can afford SP Little Knight for $130? Even though you say you can, you know what I mean? When I go on Twitter and 500 people say I can't afford SP Little Knight, and then the next YSS has 3,000 people, and I go, all right.
Well, what if 2,700 of them aren't playing SP Little Knight? Never thought about that.
I didn't think about that. No, but it is pretty crazy to see. I don't know. It's just making me sad. All right, I think we've covered everything.
We wanted to.
Huh?
I said yes. We've covered what we
wanted to do. We will not have one of these for at least 2 weeks. I'm leaving for Costa Rica tomorrow. Jeff is leaving for his UDS on Thursday. Then after Costa Rica, we will be in Vegas for the YCS in Vegas. So it'll be at least 2 weeks. Until
guess what happens after the YCS in Vegas?
YCS in Australia. So probably 3 weeks actually.
We get like a 1 week gap.
Do we get a 1 week gap? Yeah.
Maybe we can get like a random like one day episode in or something like that. If one of us wins something.
Yeah. Yeah. So this will be there will not be another episode for a while, but we have not disappeared. We're just busy with why it's just we spent 2 hours complaining about why it says we're going to 2 in a row, and I'm just I know yours is a good one. I know yours is a good one. Yours is a good one. Yours is the actual real event. But anyways, so thank you all for listening. I'll have this up as soon as possible, and then this will be the last one for at least 2 to 3 weeks, but we will see you next time.
Adios.
See ya.